Lauren. We all get to go home.
You need to decide right now who you are.
This place, it doesn't give. It takes.
Are you okay? No, I don't think any of us are gonna be.
You said that you weren't gonna let this place break you. This place is one.
What if it was a sign?
What if they don't come back?
What if that was our only chance to go home?
What if I wasted the only opportunity we're gonna get?
What if I'm lost? No one ever finds me.
What if it's not over? What if all this is happening for a reason?
Is this a bottle tree? Okay, look, it's getting dark. This is crazy. I'm seriously, I don't understand what's going on here. This is crazy. Am I supposed to read this or something? What? What? Are you kidding me? Are we picked up? We are picked up. Fromily, here we go, season 4. But it's getting dark. So if I'm gonna make it this season, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going home. Season 4. I'll see you guys. I'll see you.
Welcome one, welcome all to a very quick and impromptu edition of the Fromville Hour, as we have some awesome breaking news that From Season 4 has officially been greenlit. And I think this doesn't come as a big surprise to a lot of us. I think most of us knew they were most certainly going to get a Season 4. It was just a matter of time as to when they chose to announce it. And here we are, just a few days away from the finale, and we get that official confirmation that Season 4 is a go. But unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have to wait a little ways before Season 4 hits our screen, as they are projecting a 2026 release date for the 4th season. So definitely bittersweet news. I mean, I'm super pumped that we're getting a 4th season, but I think we already knew that was coming. But yeah, 2026 release date they are projecting right now, which is a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping they could get started filming pretty early and maybe get Season 4 out by the end of 2025. But I imagine we will probably get it very, very early in 2026 at the latest. But here we are, folks. The confirmation is here. From Season 4 is a go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see who we got here in the awesome chat. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this. Again, tonight will be a pretty quick stream. I won't be going live for too long. I just wanted to hop on here, say what is up to each and every one of you, see how you guys were doing, and discuss a little bit of this awesome news that we just got. So we'll be hanging out for a little bit here, but won't be a crazy long one tonight. We got Howdy in the house. What is up, Howdy? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And of course, we will also be talking about the giveaway. The giveaway is back on the table, and we are going to be doing it for the finale. So definitely stay tuned there. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit. We have an awesome two-part giveaway that we're going to be diving into. I know Scarlett and Dana are going to be doing some on their channel, and we're going to be doing some here as well. So we got some fun stuff to look forward to over this final week of From Season 3. So welcome, everybody. We got Eric Grant in the house. What is up, Eric Grant? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Got Jackson in the house. What is up, Jackson? Reigns, great news. I can dig it. Let's go. Absolutely. I can definitely dig news. I mean, getting the confirmation that we are getting season 4 is definitely good news. Yes, it's a little bit of a bummer. We have to wait till 2026, most likely, but still very much good news that we have a season 4 on the horizon. Smiley's like, buckle up, bitches, says Eric Grant. Yes, indeed. Smiley is saying, buck up, kick the tires, light the fires. Let's get this party started. Got Ando in the house. What is up, Ando? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome. We got Laurie Young in the house. My life is complete. I know, right? It's something awesome to at least look forward to. Many of us are very invested in From up until this point in the stories, the characters, the mystery, and it's nice to know that we at least definitely have that 4th season coming and beyond. I imagine season 4 will most certainly not be their final season either. I imagine they're going to at least do around 5. It seems like they're aiming for maybe 6 if they need it. But yeah, something to look forward to. We definitely have a season 4 coming, guys, and a pretty awesome way for Howard Perrineau to break the news the way he did. Just happened to stumble upon that random bottle tree. I mean, just Fromville meeting us in the real world. We got Kevin in the house. What is up? Kevin is lit. Welcome, welcome. We got Saul in the building. Welcome, welcome. We got Amy in the house. What is up, Amy? Welcome. We got Rod in the house as well. We got CT5. We got my brother, Lord Ravener, hanging out with us in the chat. Welcome, Ravener. Always good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got E5PY. Welcome, E5PY. Preemptive like. Indeed, preemptive like. Got Adam in the house. What is up, Adam? Welcome, welcome. Scroll down more. See who else I can see. See Tisha in the house. What is up, Tisha? Good to see you as well. I see Mond in the building. Welcome, welcome. Good to see everybody tonight. I hope everybody is doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying your week, getting ready for the weekend. We have the final episode of season 3 approaching, just a mere days away. And I am looking forward to seeing how this season is going to wrap up. What new revelations do they have in store for us? What new questions are they going to set up for season 4 and beyond? I am looking forward to seeing how this season is going to end. Awesome, awesome stuff. I just want to announce if anyone needs any counseling after season 3 ends, I'm here for you. That is very noble of you to offer that, indeed. And yes, I mean, I think many of people will probably need counseling depending on how this finale goes. And regardless of how it goes, just knowing that From is coming to an end, that might bear some counseling in and of itself. But when season 3 ends, we are going to do our best, at least here on this channel, to keep the From party going just a little bit longer. Every time a new season comes out, we did the same thing at the end of season 1 and at the end of season 2. We like to kind of go back and rewatch, because every time you go back and you rewatch everything right from the very beginning, you always tend to pick up on some new things that you didn't pick up on the first go around, especially after seeing a new season. Once season 3 is done in its entirety, when we get to see this final finale episode, we are going to be going directly back to season 1, episode 1, right from the beginning of From, and rewatching all of it in its entirety and doing tons of discussions on it. And I imagine we're going to find tons of little snippets and little Easter eggs that we're going to be able to pick up on now that we didn't pick up on the first few times we watched season 1 and season 2, now that we do have that added extra context of seeing the entire season 3. So it's always fun to kind of go back and rewatch after a new season comes out, because for some reason we always tend to pick up a ton of awesome little stuff that we just didn't have context for prior. So we are definitely going to be keeping the From party going a little bit longer once season 3 ends. And of course, we have a couple awesome other shows that we are going to be diving into and talking about here on the channel as well. Silo is out. We got Dune Prophecy is out. Severance is on the horizon. Yellow Jackets has been, we just got some awesome news on Yellow Jackets that will be coming in February of 2024, which is just around the corner as well. So we got some really good shows to look forward to on top of all of the awesome From talk that we'll be doing here on the channel. So hopefully you guys choose to come and hang out with us and keep this party going just a little bit longer, Got Golden Child. What is up, Golden Child? Good to see you. And of course, for all my Song of Ice and I feel like I've been neglectful to my Song of Ice and Fire subscribers. I know a great deal of the subscribers we have here on this channel came from our A Song of Ice and Fire content. That was pretty much what the channel was built around the first year or so before we started talking about other shows. And I've been getting a lot of requests to start making some more A Song of Ice and Fire lore videos, and I will definitely be doing that, especially now that we're starting to get some more news about House of the Dragon Season 3 and their potential filming start date. So the A Song of Ice and Fire videos will be returning as well. I've been getting a lot of requests for some more A Song of Ice and Fire stuff, and I'm always down to talk A Song of Ice and Fire. You guys know me. So that stuff will be returning as well. I've just been so consumed with all things from when Season 3 was on. So now that it's coming to a close, I will definitely have some more time for some of these other shows and other IPs that we love. And of course, we have Shogun Season 2 to look forward to, which will most likely be coming out in 2025, end of 2025, 2026 or so. So we got some really good shows to look forward to. I am stoked for the future. We got Dizzy Guy in the house. What is up, Dizzy Guy? Welcome, welcome. We got Susan in the building as well. We got Life Wells. What is up, Life Wells? We got Susie Greenberg in the house. What is up, Susie? Good to see you. We got Murr in the house. What is up, Murr? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see Alvin Rogers is in the house as well. What is up, Alvin? We got William Waddy in the house. What is up, William? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to see everybody. Awesome to see everybody. And of course, if I missed anybody, I am terribly sorry. We're going to dive into the festivities, though. But a big thank you to each and every one of you for joining us tonight. And I know, right, Jay Boog? Yeah, honestly, I know this is a joke, but I wouldn't be. It's hilarious because I wouldn't be too surprised if it was around the truth, or if there was at least fake spoilers going around now that the fandom has just really been just dwarfed in size in terms of how big it's become. Careful, Reddit already has a leak for Season 4. This is why I stay away from Reddit. This is why you will never catch me on Reddit. It's just spoiler central. Absolute spoiler central. And yes, absolutely. Join Jeremy's Discord to pass the time until Season 4. Absolutely, Faith and Repentance. We will definitely be doing tons of From discussions throughout the year on the off season in the Discord. Tons of watch parties. We always like to go back and kind of do some random watch parties every once in a while. Dive back into From. So the From discussions will definitely be continuing after Season 3 ends, because I know a lot of people still like talking From in the off season, which is totally fine. I'm totally down to talk From all year round. Hell, I never get bored talking about this show. So we will definitely be doing that. What is up, All City? Welcome to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, now let's take a little bit of a look at this. Now we got a new article that has just recently dropped from Deadline, giving us some of this breaking news that From Season 4 has been greenlit. And we're going to go through a little bit of it here. But on top of that, I played it in the intro, but I just in case there are a few of you who have popped in recently that weren't here for the intro, we also got this little interesting snippet from Harold Perrineau himself confirming Season 4.
Is this a bottle tree? Okay, look, it is, it's getting dark. This is crazy. I'm seriously, I don't understand what's going on here. This is crazy. Am I supposed to read this or something? What? What? Are you kidding me? Are we picked up? We are picked up. Fromily, here we go, Season 4. But it's getting dark, so if I'm gonna make it this season, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going home. Season 4, I'll see you guys. I'll see you.
What if it was a sign?
What if they don't come back?
What if that was our only chance to go home?
What if I wasted the only opportunity we're gonna get?
What if I'm lost? No one ever finds me.
What if it's not over? What if all this is happening for a reason?
Season 4 will return. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love it. And yes, I mean, killing his scenes even in jest. Absolutely. I mean, that's Harold Perrineau for you. The guy is just he's so committed to the show. It feels like you could really kind of just tell it's not that kind of manufactured commitment where this is just a job that I'm getting paid to do. You really get the sense that Harold Perrineau loves this character that he's playing. He loves this character of Boyd. Seems like he really loves this show and the direction that it's heading in. So it's awesome to see the excitement and the buzz around From heading into the finale, especially now knowing that we have that season 4 coming on the horizon. So I am pumped. I am pumped for the future of From. But MGM has renewed its hit sci-fi series, and it's funny, it's still kind of categorized as quote-unquote sci-fi horror series for a 10-episode 4th season. And that was another interesting detail that I was very glad to see, that at the very least we are still getting 10-episode seasons. We've seen so many other shows that we love have been just cut down shorter and shorter and shorter. Even House of the Dragon, starting off with 10 episodes in season 1, and then season 2 getting only 8 episodes. And it's looking like season 3 of House of the Dragon might also only have 8 episodes. So we have been seeing TV getting progressively shorter and shorter and shorter every year, it feels like. But at least we know we are going to get a full 10 episodes for season 4, just like we got for season 3. So that at least is some good news. Some good news. I'm glad we're at least getting the full 10 episodes. Because I was a little bit worried about that. I was wondering, how are they going to continue to follow this 10-episode format? Are they ever going to start cutting it down at some point? I mean, me personally, I would love to see more of a 12 or a 13-episode season format. Kind of like how HBO used to do it up until a few years ago. All of the prominent HBO shows back in the days of like True Blood, just a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago or so, they usually always had 12 or 13 episode seasons, and those were just a little bit more complete, a little bit more satisfying than the 10 episodes, because you have, I know it's only 3 extra episodes, but having those 3 extra episodes, the 3 extra hours of screen time, really can sometimes make all the difference in the world in terms of being able to kind of dive down into deeper details that you just don't have time to do when there's only 8 or 10 episodes. But at the very least, it looks like From is going to continue to follow their 10-episode format. So it's better than knowing they're cutting episodes down, I guess. I would love some longer episodes and some longer seasons, but it's good to know they're at least not getting smaller. But yeah, MGM has renewed its hit sci-fi horror series From for a 10-episode 4th season. Love it. Created by John Griffin and executive produced by Griffin, showrunner Jeff Pinker, Lost, Alias, Fringe, and director Jack Bender, Lost, Game of Thrones, and just those 3 alone. I mean, the unholy trinity, as you were. Just the amount of talent that is behind the camera. I know we talk all the time about the incredible performances of actors like Harold Perrineau, Scott McCord, Elizabeth Saunders, David Alpay, and all the rest. And we got really some just incredibly talented actors on this show. But I need to often remember to praise the people behind the camera as well. Again, whether it's the writer John Griffin kind of becoming the brainchild of this crazy Fromville narrative that has been spun, and all the stuff that we're seeing from the showrunner of Jeff Pinkner, who again has so many good credits to his name, from Lost, Alias, Fringe, 3 awesome shows, all that really like to dive into that kind of mystery aspect that we're dealing here with From. And then, of course, you have the legendary Jack Bender. Now, Jack Bender is probably my favorite TV director of all time. The guy is just, he's done so many iconic stuff. You think about any iconic show over the last 10 years or so, Jack Bender has probably directed a few episodes of it. And of course, he did some Lost stuff. He did some Game of Thrones stuff as well back when Game of Thrones was at the height of its power in those first few seasons. So we really have just an incredibly talented team behind From. And it's also executive produced by the brothers who directed Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, which is I always kind of forget about that they're attached to this project as well. The Russo brothers, there it is, the Russo brothers. They directed some of the best MCU movies that we've gotten. And I always kind of forget that they're executive producers on the show as well. I mean, they don't spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but they're right there in the credits every week, where the Joel and Anthony Russo are executive producers of From. So there really is incredible talent around behind the camera as well as in front of it. Harold Perrineau leads an ensemble cast, which includes Catalina Sandano Morano, Maria Full of Grace, Ian Bailey, Band of Brothers. I forgot Ian Bailey was in Band of Brothers. I totally forgot about that. That's right. Band of Brothers is a really, really good show. I mean, you talk about like really just incredibly realistic World War II shows. Band of Brothers is probably one of the most accurate depictions you'll see of World War II out of any show out there. I mean, I know there's been tons of World War II shows and movies over the years. Some of them have been really good, some of them not so much. But Band of Brothers definitely kind of stands above the rest in terms of just incredibly hard-hitting, realistic look at some of the horrors that went down during World War II and what some of those soldiers went through. And it's really kind of interesting because at the end of every episode, it also weaves in real interviews with real veterans who actually fought in some of the battles that are on the show. So it really is one of the craziest experiences in terms of, if you're a history buff, if you like things like history and stuff like that, I would recommend checking out Band of Brothers. It's just, again, it's one of the most profound looks into World War II that I've ever seen. Hannah Chermy, Simon Webster, Ricky He, Chloe Van Lansut. Awesome cast. Everybody seems to be returning for season 4, so that is awesome to know. Love that. From has been a sensation for MGM Plus, capturing the attention of millions of viewers and helping us to shine a bright light on our MGM Plus brand. That is definitely the case. I mean, when we were on season 2 of From, they were the second most watched show on MGM Plus at that time. At that time, Godfather of Harlem was their #1 watched show. But I haven't checked the Nielsen ratings or any of the scores after season 3. But I would be very surprised if From didn't surpass Godfather of Harlem as becoming the #1 watch show on From. It really is becoming their flagship show. And I imagine From is probably bringing in more subscribers than any other show that they have on MGM Plus. So MGM knows they have a real golden goose right here. So I don't think there's any risk of this show getting canceled at any point in time. However many seasons that John Griffin, Jeff Pinkner, Jack Bender, the rest of them, however many seasons they need to properly tell this story, they'll probably get as many seasons as that. I don't see that this show ever being in a risk of getting canceled. It's getting more and more popular every year, and it's bringing in tons of new eyes and new subscribers to MGM. So I think the show's longevity is all but assured at this point. They'll get as many seasons as they need. You can count on that. Michael Wright, the head of MGM, our talented show creators and cast have brilliantly and carefully crafted this wonderful world, and we look forward to providing the answers the From audience so enthusiastically craves in season 4. And I imagine they're definitely going to have to dive into a lot more of the answers and stuff like that in season 4 and in season 5. Now, I mean, it really is a matter of perspective, I guess, in terms of what you get out of watching the show, but you can't deny that, of course, the mystery aspect of From is one of the main draws of the show. People love the mystery aspect, and rightfully so. They are weaving just incredibly complex and intriguing mysteries on the show. So at some point, yes, they're going to have to start kind of coming out with answers a little bit more frequently. And I do believe, I remember hearing from John Griffin not too long ago at the beginning of towards like the midway point of season 3, or when we were getting towards the end of season 3, stating that from the end of season 3 on is when answers are going to start coming much more rapidly. Apparently, we're getting to that part of the story where things are going to start to get explained definitively at a much higher rate. So anybody who has been hankering for answers, I imagine season 4 is probably going to be one of those seasons where we get way more answers than we have ever gotten previously. So it seems like answers are on the horizon. From has been a hit right out of the gate for MGM Plus. The sci-fi drama is most viewed series in the history of the premier networks and has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes score. And that's another thing. They've been holding a solid score on just about every review platform ever since its inception, ever since season 1 first aired. The show has been getting just incredibly good reviews, and rightfully so. I mean, I think season 1 of From, in my opinion, is one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. Like, it's going to be really tough to top season 1 with how good they came out of the gate. We are thrilled by the support of our fans and our partners in MGM Plus, and are so excited to share the next chapter of our story with our Fromily. By the end of season 3, our characters will begin to understand why they are trapped in Fromtown, but will understanding help them escape? And if so, how? Said Pinkner. Perrineau plays Boyd Stevens, the sheriff whose draconian rules have held the fragile town together, even as he searches for a way to escape this seemingly inescapable nightmare. With the culmination of season 3, we have, in many ways, reached the end of the beginning. And that's something that we have been hearing John Griffin say in a few of those behind-the-scenes features, that season 3 is the end of the beginning. And I know a lot of people kind of misheard that and thought he was talking beginning of the end, but no, he's saying the end of the beginning, which means there's definitely still a few more seasons that they have left to do. This is not going to end at season 4 in any means, I would imagine. In season 4, a new journey begins. The question is whether it will lead our characters home or deeper into this unrelenting nightmare, said Griffin. We are so grateful to our partners at MGM Plus to be able to continue this tale and beyond. Excited to share the news with our amazing Fromily. Added Bender, congratulations and gratitude to Michael Wright and MGM Plus for the incredible support, and to our brilliant family of actors and our gifted team in Nova Scotia. We are looking forward to telling more of the tale. From is an MGM-based production. Yep, we know that already. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So there we have it, guys. There we have it. From season 4 is officially a go. Now, again, it's great news. I'm so glad that we're getting a 4th season, which was very rightfully earned, in my opinion. I know season 3, towards the end of season 3, I know it's been starting to get received with some mixed reactions. I know a lot of people are really wanting some definitive answers, and I totally understand that. Again, the mystery aspect is a big part of the show. So it's going to come to a point where the audience is going to want some more definitive answers. And season 3 has given us a few, just not a whole lot of big, overwhelming definitive answers that we've gotten. I mean, maybe there'll be a few in the finale, but of course we do still have one more episode. And with the whole titles, Revelations, Chapter 1 and 2, I think a lot of us were hoping to get some kind of big reveal. So I'm hoping that we're going to get something big to end the season off on that will give us something interesting to really chew on as we head into season 4. I'm rooting for an unhappy ending, like only Ethan and the boy in white surviving for another cycle of madness. Oof. Interesting, David. Interesting indeed. And I guess that's an interesting question. And I'd love to get everybody's take on that in the chat. What kind of ending would you guys like to see? I mean, I guess I know a lot of people would probably want to see a good, happy ending that actually sees our characters get out. But I mean, for me, I really actually enjoy the endings that are a little bit bittersweet, that give us, yes, I definitely am expecting a good portion of our characters to make it out of here eventually. But I don't think it's going to be a happy ending in the sense. I get the feeling those that do make it out are going to have to go through hell to get out, for starters. But I also see a lot of our characters are going to probably have to sacrifice themselves along the way to get everybody out. So I guess that's a big question I would ask each and every one of you. How are you guys hoping From ends as a whole, once we get to that final season, the last episode, how exactly would you guys love to see the show end? Do you want to see a nice happy ending where everybody makes it out and lives happily ever after? Or would you guys kind of like to see maybe a little bit more of a messy ending, something that is a little bit more bittersweet in nature, something that is maybe seeing some characters get out while some other characters have some nasty fates? I'm kind of with you, David, as well. I wouldn't be disappointed in the slightest if we did get a kind of quote unquote unhappy ending. This show has been a nightmare from start to finish, from start at least for all of our characters involved, that I think a lot of us are expecting a good portion of them to escape in the end. But what if they don't? I mean, what if this is heading for a more darker, more disturbing ending than we originally hoped? Again, when it comes to storytelling, you always want the ending to be satisfying, but satisfying doesn't necessarily always mean everybody's going to make it. So yeah, I think that would be interesting. I mean, as much as I do kind of want to see our characters escape, I think it could be interesting to have one of those kind of darker endings where maybe they don't escape. Maybe Fromville does win in the end. That could be interesting. That could be interesting. While Marjorie's saying, I hope that they get home. Awesome stuff. Yeah, let us know what you guys think. Do you guys want them to make it out? How do you guys want this ending to go? How do you think the ending to go? Do you think there will be some big sacrifices along the way to get these characters out? I mean, you guys have probably heard me say from, ad nauseum at this point that I think Boyd is not going to make it out. I just don't see Harold Perrineau's Boyd making it out of Fromville. I see him making it all the way to the end, but I get the feeling he's going to have to sacrifice himself in some kind of strange way in order to get everybody else out. I just don't see Harold Perrineau's Boyd making it out of Fromville with everybody else. And I really like our co-host theories, Ravener's theory, that Scott McCord's Victor might have a similar kind of ending, because that would be kind of fitting for Victor's character. I mean, you think about the character of Victor, what would he even do in the real world? If he ever did escape this place, what kind of life would he live? I mean, he's got no real world skills for anything to do. I imagine holding a 9 to 5 for someone like Victor would just be an absolute hellhole. Hell, he'd probably prefer Fromville. I mean, you put Victor behind a sales desk for a week in the real world, I bet he'd be praying for the return of Fromville at that point. So yeah, I could totally understand and totally see characters like Victor potentially never making it out of this place. I think that could be interesting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope some of them get home, and I do hope some of them get home too. I just don't want. I would like to see an interesting kind of ending where maybe it is a little bit more on the bittersweet side. If Kenny dies, we riot, says Steph. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm very impressed with Kenny's character. We talked a little bit about this on our previous stream, and I think Ravener kind of shares similar thoughts in this regard, where we've been very impressed with Kenny in season 3. Whereas in season 1 and season 2, Kenny, he wasn't at the top of our list of favorite characters. But season 3, Kenny, definitely hands down in my top 5 favorite characters this season, just in terms of the story arc he has gone on and just the development of the character as a whole. We really have seen Kenny grow up so much since the kind of the character that he was early in season 1, where he was still kind of a little bit more of a kid, still had a little bit more of those kind of childish reactions to things. But Kenny has really grown up being here in Fromville and spending time here, and his tutelage under Boyd, for starters, has really had a good effect on Kenny. So much to the point where we get a really interesting scene between Boyd and Kenny in episode 9. That was actually one of my favorite scenes from episode 9, where we see Boyd and Kenny, and Boyd is kind of telling Kenny, like, hey, the Parkinson's is getting worse. One day, you're going to have to step into these shoes. It has to be you. It can't be Acosta, it can't be some other person that rolls on in here. It needs to be you who fills these shoes one day. So it really kind of just shows how much faith Boyd has in Kenny to eventually, replace him one day. Because I imagine Boyd, looking at season 1 Kenny, must have known that season 1 or even season 2 Kenny probably would not have been capable of stepping into those shoes and adequately filling them. But season three, I feel like season three, Kenny has just grown up so much and evolved so much as a character that I do very much feel like Kenny would be able to kind of take over and maybe fill Boyd's shoes at one point. Obviously, there'll never be another Boyd. Boyd is Boyd, and they'll never be as good as Boyd, I don't think. But in terms of having the best option after Boyd is gone, yeah, I could totally see where Kenny potentially being the next best option after Boyd is gone, because he really has grown up a lot as a character. And again, this was just a phenomenal scene between him and Kenny in this episode 9, where we see Boyd just kind of letting him know, you need to be the man.
So it's getting worse. Parkinson's.
Jesus,
Look, I'm not saying this today, okay? Or tomorrow or a month from now. But I got a clock ticking on me. Yesterday, that clock started ticking a little faster. I need to know that you are going to step up and look after this place. Has to be you wearing this badge, and not some hothead like Acosta or anybody else who might come through here. You.
It's got to be you. Can't be some hothead like Fatima. Can't be somebody else that kind of rolls on in here. It's got to be you, Kenny. So that was a really good scene. I really did enjoy that one. And we got some awesome stuff coming in. Let me get to this. Thank you so much, Kiwi Skirt, for being a member for, 16 months. Holy cow. That is nothing short of awesome. Thank you so much, Kiwi. You've been such ever since day one, since we first started, doing other stuff on here on the channel, you've been one of the biggest supporters of everything we've done, and just a super awesome and reliable mod. And I know, the whole chat is grateful to you for hosting all of the watch parties and everything else you do. I can't thank you enough. It's people like you and everybody else in the chat that really have made this fandom what it is. So thank you so much, Kiwi, for, 16 months a member. Still going strong. Thanks heaps, Jeremy. Looking forward to the next 16 months. Yes, me too as well, Kiwi. I cannot wait to see what the next 16 months and beyond bring. And we will be here. We are not going anywhere. The party is not going to stop. We are not leaving, as it were. We are not leaving.
You know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving! The show goes on!
The show goes on. We are not leaving. And speaking of the awesome Kiwi, just gifted 5 memberships. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 memberships gifted from the awesome Kiwi Skirt. Wow, thank you so much, Kiwi. Looks like the Stellar Napster is now a member. Robert is now a member. Henry Bemis is now a member. Joshua is now a member. And Christine Jellybean is also now a member. Welcome one, welcome all. So glad to have each and every one of you here. Be sure to make use of all of those awesome custom Fromville emojis we have there. And thank you so much, Kiwi Skirt, again, for the 5 gifted memberships. As Doc Hayes rightly points out, I owe you a friggin' whoa. Well-earned woe indeed. Thank you, Kiwi. We also got official Rico Finesser. Welcome. 199. Boyd sacrifices himself and becomes a monster trapped. Ooh, now that would be an interesting ending for Boyd. Imagine that. Boyd spends so long fighting these things and doing everything he can to keep, his fellow townsfolk from falling prey and falling victim to these monsters, only for him himself to end up becoming a monster in the end. That would be a very bittersweet ending if Boyd ended up becoming a monster when all of this was said and done. That would be an incredibly just unfortunate fate. after everything that he has been through, everything he's done to keep these people safe, everything he's done to try and get them home, for him to not be able to experience the freedom with everybody else, and even worse, to get turned into a monster nonetheless. That would definitely be among those kind of bittersweet endings that we could potentially see. That would be nuts. That would be a nuts. Yeah, imagine that. Boyd, the whole show ending with Boyd being trapped here and becoming a monster. Man, yeah, that would be a nuts one. That would be a nuts one indeed. And thank you so much, Official Rico, for the 199. I also owe you a whoa. Whoa! Awesome stuff, guys. Thank you so much for all of the support. Yeah, let's see what else you guys are saying. Wild Marjoram wants a happy ending, and I do, and I'm kind of conflicted because I do kind of want a happy ending on one hand, but on the other hand, I kind of wouldn't be too disappointed if we did get a little bit more of that bittersweet, darker kind of ending where some people make it out and we see some other grizzled fates happen to some of the other characters. I think Boyd might eventually find Fatima because in the final trailer, she screams really loudly, which might attract people. We better see more of Smiley. Yeah, seeing Smiley was so cool. I mean, I think he's been a huge fan favorite on the show for a very long time, ever since the very beginning. And I think the imagery of Smiley really helped this show gain an audience early on in its inception. Because if you look at some of the earliest promotional material, whether it's some of the posters and stuff, they were slapping Smiley's face on so much promotional material, and he just had such a, that very intriguing and scary look where just that imagery alone, I imagine, drew so many people into the show, where you just see that image and you go, okay, I need to learn a little bit more about this. Who's this creepy guy smiling back at me here? So I really believe that Smiley, the character of Smiley, played a vital role and cultivating a massive audience for the show, because it was just such a unique look, a very intriguing look that just, you saw it and you instantly wanted to learn a little bit more, I guess. So yeah, Smiley will always be a fan favorite, at least in these parts. We will never forget Smiley. That's why we always, when it comes to new emojis on the channel, one thing you can always bet on is there will always be a Smiley emoji. We will never get rid of the smiley emoji. That one here, that one is definitely here to stay. But yeah, it was nice to see Smiley again in episode 9, and then to find out that of all of the monsters in Fromville, it was actually Smiley that took out Victor's mother, Miranda. So that was cool. It was very cool to see that Smiley cameo. But then we can scream, they killed Kenny, those bastards. Yes, we could. I guess there would be a little bit of a silver lining. Yes, I mean, if Kenny did get killed, yes, we could kind of throw in the famous South Park line. I like it. I like it. I like it. I think the ending should be Smiley driving the bus out of Frums as Chris M. Now that's an interesting one. That's actually a very interesting one, for the whole show to just end with good old Smiley just driving the good old bus out of town. And that would be nuts in and of itself, because if the show ended with maybe the wall or the barrier in between Fromville and the real world kind of eroding, I think that would be a very crazy ending. If the whole series did eventually end with them getting out, but then we kind of learned that there was some kind of after effect to them getting out, maybe successfully saving the Onkui children just completely drops the barrier between Fromville and the real world entirely. That could be a very interesting way that could set up that bittersweet ending, and could even potentially set up a spin-off show later on down the road, where it does end with some of our characters getting out, but then we as the audience also see that the monsters make it out as well. Just would be an incredibly ominous ending if something like that were to happen. But yeah, I like it. I like it. Jade, Tabitha and Jade are the two Chromonockles, work together and resolve things, but we'll lose a bunch of folks in the process. Unclear whether the Chromonockles will survive or have to die to save them. And that's going to be the big question, because, and I do tend to agree, where Tabitha and Jade are going to be very vital. I really feel like they're going to be two of the most vital characters in terms of finding real answers, in terms of really finding a way out of here, and hopefully eventually successfully saving these Ankui children where everybody else has failed in the past. I agree with you, Michael. I definitely think Tabitha and Jade are going to be vital to that storyline. I feel like we've been getting clear indications that those two characters are going to be very important to the overall narrative. So I definitely like that. And yeah, maybe we can see something like that happen where, they'll be able to solve this thing eventually, but at what cost? What price are they going to have to pay to eventually escape, to them personally and to everybody else around them? Yeah, a nice balance, not happy, and that would be a cool ending. And that's kind of where I'm at. I would like a nice little balance where you do get that kind of bittersweet, where you do see some happy elements in the ending, but also some tragic moments as well. That would be the most ideal ending for me as well. A nice little balanced out between happy and sad, for sure, for sure. I want them to be able to know how to get out, but no one makes it. Oof. Now that would be just infuriating for them. I mean, not for us as the audience. For the audience, I think that could be actually pretty cool. I like that idea. But imagine just being the characters in Fromville if they get to a point at some point where they do know the way out. They know how to get out, but nobody makes it. Man, bittersweet. Again, very bittersweet. A little more bitter, but that'd be interesting too. Save the ghost children. Yeah, and I think that's the ultimate goal. And I think we get that clear kind of line from Ethan early on in season 1 when he states that this is a quest and everybody has a specific part to play in the quest. And in order to leave, we need to complete the quest. Yes, it was coming from Ethan, so it might have been dismissed as a kind of throwaway line early on, but that line always stuck out to me since very early on. It always resonated with me because he's directly laying out the hero's journey for us. And we've seen Ethan. He's a huge kind of fantasy fan. He's been applying his knowledge of fantasy storytelling to Fromville ever since he's been here. And most recently, we see him do that with Julie in episode 8, when Julie is coming up at a threshold, which is a common term in those kind of storytelling where the hero's journey gets to a point where the hero has to make a vital choice to continue on their path or to give up and go back. And that really was the threshold that Julie was facing in that episode. So it's really funny to see. It's not funny, but I really like how they kind of throw Ethan's love and knowledge of fantasy storytelling and how they weave that into the kind of current narrative that we see every once in a while. But yeah, I do think that's going to be kind of the overall blueprint of how the show is going to go. This is a quest, for lack of better terms. Quest, mission, objective, whatever you want to call it. There is something that they need to do, something that they need to complete before they escape. It's not going to be as simple as just finding the exit door and all piling out of it. They need to actually do something before they leave. And I think a lot of us are under the assumption that successfully saving the Ankui children is probably that main objective that they need to do. Let's see what else we got. I think it'll be dark, but would be hard getting used to new characters. Indeed. Indeed. Well, I think From is in a unique position where just by the way that they've structured the show, they've really done it in a clever way where they can add new characters to the show anytime they want, and it really won't look out of place. All they have to do is have a vehicle arrive in town, and boom, you have new cast members. So in a sense, it's actually very clever the way that they set this show up, because it's always interesting to see how other shows introduce new characters that have been long established. You have shows that have been on for 2, 3, 4 seasons. They have an established cast, and all of a sudden you start adding new characters to that cast. It's always interesting to see how the new ones kind of fit in and jive with the rest of the cast and the rest of the story. But a show like this, it's very uniquely structured where throwing new characters into the show at any given point in time will never look out of place, because all you have to do is have a new vehicle arrive. So I got to say, it's very impressive that they kind of set it up that way, where, and it must be fun from a writing standpoint to know that you can add new characters to the show at any given point in time, and it's not going to look weird to the audience. It's not going to look like they just came out of nowhere, because it's kind of set up and it's made so they will come out of nowhere, kind of thing. Awesome stuff. It's not the destination, it's the journey that counts the most. Yes, Dark Lord, I love that line of thinking. That's kind of how I approach the show as well. And I think that's why I'm just not in a huge rush to get the answers. I definitely want answers. I know I've said this in the past, but I definitely want answers, don't get me wrong. But I'm just not like in a huge rush to get the answers because I'm just really enjoying the journey that these characters are on. Sometimes the journey is better than the destination. I always kind of point to Game of Thrones as a kind of example of this, where Game of Thrones started off incredible. You look at those first 3, 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, and it's probably the best television I've ever seen in my life. It's so good. It's really second to none in terms of writing, story development, acting, world building. Game of Thrones, the first 4 seasons, it's really hard to get better than what they did during that time. Then you start to get to those later seasons, and you start to see the quality drop off just a little bit more each season, to where by the time you get to season 8, the show really starts going off the rails, and the ending was very unsatisfying for a lot of fans. But I still look back on Game of Thrones with immense fondness. Where, like you said, Dark Lord, it's one of those things where sometimes the journey is just better than the destination. So I still to this day go back and rewatch Game of Thrones. I know a lot of big Game of Thrones fans haven't even brought themselves to go back and rewatch the series again because they just don't want to experience that ending again, which is understandable. But I would also suggest to those people, try to remember the good times. Remember how good Game of Thrones was in the beginning, where, again, maybe it's just me, but for me, yes, the journey is just better than destination sometimes. So I very much look back on Thrones with fondness. Very much look back on Thrones with fondness. That's good to. It's a good show. There'll always be a good show for me. Yeah, I do rewatch it all the time. Awesome, Cassie. Yeah, and again, it's fun to go back and rewatch those seasons every once in a while, especially the first four. As Delilah says, I rewatched Game of Thrones season 1 through 4. I've watched Game of Thrones so many times, still love it. Awesome stuff. All right, so it's good. I'm good to know that I'm not alone there. I like that. Awesome. Thank you guys. Because yeah, again, even though it ended a little bit disappointing, it's the journey that those characters go on and the narrative that they lay forth it's just so freaking good, man. So yeah, I still to this day I love going back and rewatching old Game of Thrones. It's just that'll always be in my top 3 shows of all time, probably right up there with Lost and Twilight Zone, the original Twilight Zone. Anyway, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Let's see what else we got. The end is the beginning is reproducing Miranda's beginning metaphorical vision quest on LSD under the tree per Henry, after which she started having visions. And the whole thing with the end, the end is the beginning. This is kind of a term that mystery box storytelling usually tends to do a lot. It's not really unique to From in and of itself, where when you have shows like this, you can usually suss out the end right from the very beginning, in terms of the writers will often drop clues for how the show is going to end very early on. And I think they have done the exact same thing here with From. And that's why it's very beneficial to go back and rewatch the series. Every time a new season comes out, and you get new data points, you get new context for things that you learn a little bit more about the characters, you learn a little bit more about the world. Every time a new season comes out, you get more information. So every time that new season ends, it's very beneficial to go back and rewatch the earlier seasons, because you will end up picking up on so many little things that you just didn't even know to look for the first time you watched the first season, because you didn't have any context for where the story was going to go. But once you do start to learn where that story is going, and you go back and rewatch the earlier seasons, it's so awesome to see all the interesting stuff that we always pick up that we just didn't pick up the first go around. And we did this during season 2 as well. When season 2 ended, we went back and did a rewatch of season 1 and season 2, and we were picking up so many interesting things in that first season that we just didn't pick up the first time we watched it because we didn't have any context for it. So stories like this, where they're kind of wrapped in that mystery box style of storytelling, it's always very beneficial to go back and rewatch old seasons when new seasons come out, after new seasons finish. And that's what we'll be doing this year as well. Once season 3 ends, we will be going right back and diving right in from the beginning of From season 1, episode 1, and doing a complete rewatch. And I imagine we're going to find tons of little Easter eggs and little foreshadowings that we just weren't able to recognize earlier. So we will definitely be doing that. We got Gina Lloyd. Thank you so much, Gina Lloyd, for the $5. Thank you so much. If we get all the answers, the show is over. So keep us guessing, and that's actually a very healthy way to approach it. And again, I totally understand people wanting answers. It is a mystery show at the end of the day. Well, it's not just a mystery show, but the mystery is a big aspect of it. So I totally understand people wanting those answers. But yes, once you start answering everything, you start to take a little bit of the magic away from the show, and then there's less to theorize about, there's less to discuss, there's less wondering where this is going to go. So I guess that's another reason why I'm not in a huge rush to get those answers, because I'm really enjoying all of the theory crafting that we've been doing as a fandom for these first 3 seasons, where the show still is very much in that phase where the magic is alive. But once you start answering all of these definitive things, yes, it does start to lose a little bit of its magic at that point once you start learning too much. So I'm totally fine with them kind of just loosely sprinkling out answers every once in a while. I don't get the feeling this is going to be one of those shows where we get to the end and it's just like a massive information dump and we get all of these answers at once. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it'll be more of a gradual process where each season we'll start to get more and more answers. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where we just get all of the answers at once. At least I'm hoping not. But yeah, awesome stuff. And thank you so much, Gina, for the 5. I also owe you a woe. But yeah, don't want to get all of the answers too soon, because then then the mystery's gone. Then there's nothing to talk about. Whoa! Awesome stuff. Thank you. Susie Greenberg, I love this. This is hilarious. Now you should only watch it and then spend 15 to 20 years complaining about how you didn't understand it, and tell me that isn't Lost in a nutshell right there, Susie. So I definitely pick up what you're putting down, my friend. Yeah, very much so. And again, it's unfortunate that not everybody that watched Lost seemed to kind of maybe understand it fully. And Lost is definitely one of those shows like From, where you very much benefit from watching each episode multiple times to really kind of see some of the underlying themes and some of the deeper meanings to some of these story arcs that they're laying out. But yeah, Lost was a very similar show where by the time you got to the end, there were so many people that I just think they just weren't paying attention close enough, because they just had no idea what was happening by the time you got to the end. But people that were like really paying attention, like myself, by the time you got to the finale, I knew exactly what they were doing and I knew exactly where it was going. And I was very satisfied with how it ended. But I know not everybody was, and that's totally cool. Cassie says, I love Supernatural. I love Supernatural at first. I like how it ended. I feel like when you get to the final 2 seasons of Supernatural, seasons I think 14 and 15, the show really kind of returns to form, and those final 2 seasons are some of their best stuff. But for me, Supernatural is another one of those series that kind of started to overstretch its welcome. You look at the first 5 seasons of Supernatural, and that's some of the best television I've ever seen. Like, I love the first 5 seasons of Supernatural. And then later on, when I learned that Supernatural was actually supposed to end at season 5, it just makes so much sense. And you look at the ending, how season 5 ends. If that would have been the ending to the entire series, I feel like that would have been such a fitting and very satisfying ending to see Sam and Dean kind of end the way they did. I don't want to kind of spoil it in case there's anybody potentially watching Supernatural and hasn't seen it yet. But yeah, the first 5 seasons of Supernatural are a perfect story. It really is the perfect story arc that Sam and Dean go on in terms of where they start and where they end. It's a complete full circle. And then when I found out that Supernatural was actually originally, it was going to end with season 5. Season 5 was supposed to be that final season, but for some reason they ended up continuing it past season 5, probably because they were getting really good numbers back then. That's when the show was at its most popular. So I understand the networks need and want to kind of continue that. But yeah, I really love the first 5 seasons of Supernatural. Really, really love the first five. Really good storytelling indeed. Vampire Diaries is a comfort show. Ended bad, but was so amazing. It did end bad, I must say. And I actually did watch that show. I was, the girlfriend I was with at the time back then when Vampire Diaries and the originals were on, she was really into those shows. And I watched both Vampire Diaries and originals with her. And I feel like originals ended a little bit more satisfying. I think originals was just kind of a better show overall. Maybe it's just because I like the original family and that kind of story arc was a little bit more compelling just for me. But yeah, Vampire Diaries was one of those shows where it started off kind of interesting, kind of decent. That was back during the vampire craze. Like this was during the days of True Blood and Twilight, and the whole freaking world seemed to want nothing but vampire content. There was vampire shows and movies up the friggin' wazoo back then. They were everywhere. But a lot of them kind of fell flat. Like I wasn't like Twilight was insufferable. I couldn't even get through the first Twilight movie, but that was just me personally. Um, but True Blood was really good. I actually really enjoyed True Blood on HBO. That was probably the best vampire show that was out back then. But Vampire Diaries and originals, they were at least watchable to the point where I at least kind of wanted to see where it was going. From the whole Damon, Stefan, and Elena storyline to Klaus and Elijah and the original family storyline, they had some good moments. But yes, the way the show ended was very disappointing. But that's it's I think it's right to describe it as one of those kind of comfort shows. So that's accurate, Caitlin, I would say. Indeed. When I rewatch the ending, actually doesn't bother me as much. In fact, I see potential where it can continue. Awesome, awesome Hollywood Pineapple, and I actually do as well in some areas. Yes, I mean, I wish Game of Thrones ended in a different way. I do wish it had a little bit more of a complete arc. When you get to that final season, you see a lot of characters' personal journeys kind of just get thrown out of the window. Jamie Lannister is probably the most egregious example of this, where you see all of the character development, the entire redemption arc that Jamie was on just gets completely reversed in the span of one episode. So it was really unsatisfying in some ways. But the way that it ended, yes, there is some potential there for some certain continuations in some areas, and it looks like we're even going to be getting that. HBO recently announced that they are doing a Game of Thrones continuation movie, and it looks like Arya Stark is going to be attached. So we're definitely getting something that is going to continue the storyline of Game of Thrones, and they're even talking about revisiting the Jon Snow spin-off series. So maybe Kit Harington will actually get another crack at playing Jon Snow again, and we will get that continuation of the story. I mean, I'm such a huge fan of A Song of Ice and Fire that I'll give anything at least a chance. I mean, I definitely prefer A Song of Ice and Fire when it's based on George's source material. I feel like that's when it's at its best. But I'm definitely not opposed to A Song of Ice and Fire shows just being original stories, like this, like the Jon Snow show. If that does get greenlit, that will be something that isn't based on George's source material for the most part. So I'm willing to, at the very least, I'm willing to give it a shot. I will give anything at least a chance to see at least how it's going to be. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. This show can handle more seasons. They can even branch off to. I believe they can. I think where From is right now, I think they could easily do 5 or 6 seasons to kind of wrap this whole storyline up. I suppose it all depends on where they're going to go with it. How much longer, how much more of the story is left. But I could totally see From ending at season 5 or maybe season 6. But depending on how it ends, and even regardless of how it ends, just seeing the world that they have set up here, yeah, I would imagine that there's some interesting opportunity there for some kind of spin-off show down the road. And that was one thing that Lost didn't really capitalize on that a lot of us were hoping they would. Lost set up such an interesting world and such an interesting history timeline that stretched back so far that the possibilities were endless when it came to potential Lost spin-off shows. Yet for some reason, we never got any successful spin-off from the Lost world that ever kind of took off. There were a few attempts to do Lost spin-offs back in the day, but every single attempt never even made it to filming a pilot episode. Like they all kind of just fell apart in the middle of the pre-production phase. So a lot of us were expecting this plethora of hopefully Lost spin-offs when that show ended, but we didn't get any. From is kind of in a similar vein, where yeah, they're setting up such an epic and sprawling history that dates back, Lord knows how long. So there's definitely some potential there to do some kind of spin-off at some point and explore some other time periods. From has been, very interesting in the sense where they seem to be setting up little key moments that point to other time periods, whether it's the Civil War soldiers and some of these other visions that Jade's been having, some of the dates that we see that potentially date back all the way to the 1500s. There's potential there for a lot of spin-off potential, I guess you could say. So I guess we'll see. I mean, when From ends, it'd be nice to get some kind of interesting spin-off show that experienced From at a different time period, maybe, some kind of different story, a whole different group of people entirely. I'd be up for that. I'd certainly at least give it a shot for sure. Is there a sea monster in the Lake of Tears? Oof, I don't know. Shit. I've never thought of sea monsters being in From, but I mean, I suppose anything's possible at this point. I mean, the show has been throwing so much weird stuff at us that I guess I wouldn't put anything past them. But who knows? Who knows? Will we find a sea monster at the Lake of Tears? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I wonder when Ethan was in the RV in season 1, saying he saw the Lake of Tears. Was that referring to the children crying after they were sacrificed? Ooh, interesting, baby Clay. Maybe. I mean, that's an interesting theory. I suppose that could be possible. Yeah. I mean, when we hear Lake of Tears, I think a lot of us were just automatically assuming that it's going to be a body of water. But yeah, what if Lake of Tears was a little bit more metaphorical and not actually a literal lake? No, I could totally see that being the case. I like that theory. That's actually a really cool theory. That yeah, maybe Ethan wasn't actually seeing a lake, a body of water in the sense where maybe what he was seeing was more of a metaphor for the Lake of Tears. And yeah, the children crying after they're being sacrificed. That's an interesting one. I like that theory. That's a cool one, baby Clay. I like that one. It's a really good one. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Maybe Boyd will get a monster in the last episode. You never know. And that's another storyline that a lot of us have been hoping to see kind of play out. They set it up very early on in season 3. Boyd comes up with this idea that he wants to trap one of these monsters and interrogate the heck out of it. Go full on Jack Bauer on one of these monsters. And hopefully learn some definitive information about them and about this place, because they really are in the dark. And so I really appreciated Boyd's state of mind at the beginning of the season, where he was in that state where he wants answers. He needs to learn more because he does want to fight back. But at this point, they just don't know how to fight back because nothing has worked. Everything that they have done to try and fight back has seemingly only led to worse consequences. So yeah, I was hoping that they were going to return to that storyline at some point, where Boyd was going to attempt to trap one of the monsters, which I had a feeling it was probably going to end very badly, and I have a feeling it probably will if that storyline ever does come back into play. Trapping one of these monsters just seems like it's an incredibly dangerous task, something that would probably come at quite a cost if it were to be successful. But yeah, I was a little bummed that they kind of abandoned that storyline for the most part. Now, again, of course, like you said, there is one episode left. Could we potentially see that storyline come back into play in this final episode? Maybe, but I guess I'm not really expecting it. But yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer that they kind of seemingly abandoned that storyline that was very exciting for a lot of fans. I think a lot of us wanted to see Boyd attempt to trap one of these things and just see how it would go. So yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see them return to that at some point, and maybe they will. I mean, if it doesn't happen in this final episode, maybe when we do get to season 4, maybe we will see Boyd return to that plan of trapping one of these monsters. Maybe. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down here. Lake of Tears drawing shows the floating eye in the sky. Yeah, we broke that down back during season 2 as well, and that was one of the things that I thought was the Lake of Tears, because it very accurately depicts it, doesn't it? You see that one drawing, it's that giant freaking eyeball in the sky, and you see the tears falling down into the lake. And yes, I mean that could be. There's a lot of other mythologies that you could kind of tie that back to. I like some of the Inuit stuff that's been going around. Some of it is pretty interesting. And there definitely has been some clear signs of some Inuit mythology. We're seeing some very interesting Native American mythology, some Norse mythology, and that's one thing I love about From. It really does seem to be like a melting pot of they're taking inspiration from so many different mythologies and kind of just injecting it right into their narrative. And I love that. Being a fan of history and being a fan of some of these mythologies, I love when they draw on real world lores and kind of sprinkle that into their narrative and kind of create their own little thing. So I love that From is taking inspiration, I guess you could say, from tons of different mythologies around the world. I love that part of the show. Absolutely. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. We got Will Smalls in the house. What is up, Will Smalls? Good to see you, my friend. Panel and chat. Did any of you get the feeling, speaking of water, that Elgin's dream about pregnancy was that also included the boy in white is actually about Elgin drowning Ellis, and he projects to Boyd in the well. Ooh, interesting one, Will Smalls. Interesting. Man, no, me personally, no, I've actually never thought of that myself. But now that you mention it, it's kind of an interesting kind of tidbit there. Yeah, and it did seem like Elgin's dream was very uniquely tied to water, where he wakes up and one of the first things he asks Fatima is there water here? Is there a body of water here? And she kind of takes him to the Brundles. But it seems like the Brundles weren't kind of bringing back those memories for Elgin, kind of indicating to us that maybe it wasn't the Brundles that Elgin saw in his vision. Maybe it was a different body of water. But no, that's an interesting kind of interpretation that it's actually, kind of a foreshadowing of Elgin drowning Ellis. Man, yeah, I didn't think about that personally, but it would certainly be an interesting foreshadowing now that you mention it. Man, I guess we'll see. I was a little worried for Ellis in episode 9, I must say, when Elgin was being just incredibly sus, like way sus than normal. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, we got a lot of sus characters on the show. I feel like that's nothing new. But the way Elgin was being like overtly sus in episode 9 when they were searching for Fatima, at one point here, I was incredibly worried for Ellis. The way that Ellis was kind of purposely standing in front of Elgin with his back to him, and Elgin being in the kind of crazy state that he's in right now. Obviously, he's worried about getting caught. He doesn't want to get found out that he's kidnapped Fatima. I don't know if it was just the way that they were filming it or the intensity of the scene, but I was a little worried for Ellis for a split second. I thought, man, is Elgin going to do something crazy and just like take Ellis out here just to kind of keep him from figuring anything out? I was a little worried for Ellis in this moment, but you do bring up an interesting point. Will there be some kind of reckoning between Ellis and Elgin when it does come to light that Elgin was the one who kidnapped Fatima? And I do have a feeling that is going to come to light. I mean, when we look at the episode 10 trailer, it looks like we see Boyd, Donna, and Sarah walking up the stairs like they're on their way to go confront Elgin. And then we also have that line from Sarah in the episode 10 trailer where she says, "Nothing gives here, it only takes." I get the feeling she's talking to Elgin in that scene, and she's trying to convince Elgin that no, this kimono creature is not here to help. She's not here to give you anything. She's only here to take something. So I think that's an interesting thing to see if there will be some kind of confrontation. Will we see Elgin and Ellis potentially come to blows even? Like when Ellis does find out what Elgin did, will Ellis want to physically get revenge on Elgin, even in a sense? But I did find that very interesting in the episode 10 trailer. And I'll play the episode 10 trailer again, just in case anybody hasn't seen it or in case anybody wants to see it again. But there's a very interesting moment where at the very beginning of the trailer, it really seems, I mean, these trailers are very cleverly edited at times to kind of be purposely misdirecting. So on first glance, it looks like we're seeing Boyd, Donna, and Sarah walk up the stairs to go and confront Elgin. And I do get the feeling that probably is the case, but every once in a while, these trailers will deliberately get cut together just to throw us off. But this one here does seem a little bit more straightforward. and we'll play it now. And I'd love to get everybody's thoughts on it. And what stands out to you guys the most in the episode 10 trailer?
Once the baby is born, we all get to go home.
You need to decide right now who you are.
This place, it doesn't give. It takes.
Are you okay? No, I don't think any of us are gonna be.
You said that you weren't gonna let this place break you. This place is one.
This place has won. I mean, interesting trailer. Now, I'm glad that the episode 10 trailer, it gives us enough to kind of give us a small feel, but it doesn't really spoil anything major. And I was really glad that they did that. I was glad that the final trailer for the final episode didn't show us a whole lot. But yeah, Hollywood Pineapple brings up, I do want to see some human fights going on. And that's one thing I've always wondered as well. Like, are we ever going to see some kind of human on human action, happening in the town? A good old scuffle breaking out, as it were. We haven't really seen much of that up until this point. But yeah, I mean, if I was Ellis, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but if I was Ellis and I found out that somebody kidnapped my pregnant wife and was holding her captive, not only holding her captive, but was also doing all of this at the behest of some creepy kimono spirit. If I was Ellis, I would be kicking Elgin's ass when I found out. Hands down. There'd be no question about it. We would definitely be coming to blows. And Elgin would be leaving with a friggin' broken nose when I got done with him. But yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see how Ellis does react. I mean, how will his response be when he does find out what Elgin did? Because again, I get the feeling he will find out. It seems like the trailer is heading in that direction. Yes, Jeremy, I think Sarah is talking to Elgin too. It seems like that, doesn't it? Because when Sarah says that, if you look at and I brought this up in my episode 10 trailer breakdown, but if we look a little closer to the episode 10 trailer, we see it starts off with, of course, Boyd, Sarah, and Donna walking up the stairs, and we see, boom, Elgin at the top of the stairs. So it looks like they are on their way to confront him. Now, how exactly do they find out that Elgin is sus? How do they find out that Elgin, needs to be questioned? Does Sarah potentially have some other kind of experience where maybe a voice that's a little bit on the more malevolent side and not the evil side? Maybe we have a voice reach out to Sarah and actually give her some useful information that points to Elgin. Or could it be his conversation that he had with Ellis? A lot of people were pointing out in the comment section that Elgin came off incredibly sus in that conversation he had with Ellis, that maybe that one conversation is going to shed some kind of light onto Elgin or some suspicion onto him, enough at least enough where it sends Boyd to go interrogate him. Not interrogate him, but at least question him. But yeah, definitely looks like Boyd, Donna, and Sarah are walking up the stairs, and they are getting ready to confront Elgin. Next thing we know, we see Ellis mean mugging Elgin. And again, if I was Ellis, I mean, you'd have to call in the freaking National Guard to keep me off of Elgin if I was Ellis after finding out what happened. But then, of course, we also see this one shot of Sarah, and we see Sarah saying, this place doesn't give, it only takes. And when we look at the background here, we can see that same, nasty wallpaper of Colony House. So yeah, it definitely looks like Boyd, Sarah, and Donna are on their way to go confront and talk with Elgin. And it seems like Sarah here is, specifically trying to get through to Elgin to let him know, like, hey, you're being manipulated here, kid. This place does not give, it only takes. And it's very interesting because Sarah is the perfect character to convey this, because Sarah has been through everything that Elgin is going through right now. Where, I mean, we all remember season 1, it was pretty much the exact same playbook. All of these voices that were manipulating and communicating with Sarah were telling her to do pretty much the exact same thing that this kimono creature is now telling Elgin to do, in terms of do what I say and it will lead to all of you going home. That was how Sarah was so easily manipulated early on in season 1. These voices were promising her, if you listen to us, it will lead to you and your brother going home. Sarah, legit thought that she was saving the entire town by doing what she was doing. Yes, she was incredibly wrong, incredibly misguided, and incredibly manipulated, but Sarah, after having that experience, Sarah has that unique perspective that she can offer to Elgin to, just kind of connect with him on a human level, even, and say, hey, I've been where you are. I've been in your shoes. I know how tantalizing this place can be. The forces that are in this place, I know how convincing they can be. They can make it seem like they have all the answers. They can make it seem like they really do want to help you, but it's not true. It is a manipulation tactic. So Sarah really is very uniquely suited to try and get through to Elgin to make him realize, no, what you're doing is not for the betterment of the town. What is happening with Fatima here is not going to lead to everybody getting home. This is you are very much being manipulated here, and you just can't see it because this kimono creature has her hook so deep inside Elgin that he's just not able to see the horror that he's potentially unleashing on the town. So it's interesting that Sarah, of all people, is with Boyd and Donna when they go to confront Elgin, because again, she's very uniquely qualified to get through to him, considering what she's been through. So I'm looking forward to seeing this scene. This should be a very, very interesting scene indeed. Indeed. Let's see what else we got. Donna looks scared in that picture. She does look a little kind of, I think if we're talking about the one of her on the stairs. Yeah, you see the look on Donna's face. Yeah, I think you could say she does look a little worried there. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that a little bit. And maybe she's worried for Fatima. Maybe we're seeing the concern for Fatima being manifested, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, she looks a little worried there. Does look a little bit worried there. Let's see what else we got. I think someone will look at Elgin's scar on his arm when Fatima scratched him. Now, that's an interesting telltale sign, yeah, because we did see that Fatima scratched Elgin on his arm or on his hand in attempted escape. And that scene was just so infuriating. It's like, man, it's like you got this great opportunity, a very rare opportunity to potentially just take Elgin out, kill him, and escape, and you go to slash his hand. She should have gone right for his jugular. She set it up so perfectly. Hey, can you help me up? She could have waited for him to kind of help her all the way up, so she could have gotten within eye length of him and just absolutely shoved that piece of metal right into his jugular. She really could have taken him out and just completely escaped there. But for some reason, she just goes and slashes his hand. Like, come on, Fatima, you had such a good opportunity there, and you just botched it. You completely botched it. Go for the jugular. Go for the jugular. Elgin gave himself away, and that's definitely a potential possibility as well. Like, if it wasn't Sarah that figured it out, it could potentially be that Elgin just gave himself away by just saying way too much in that conversation that he had with Ellis, because he really did come across incredibly suspicious in that one conversation that he was having with Ellis outside of the Brundles. Like, if I was Ellis, I would very much be suspect of him for sure. So yeah, he might have just tipped his mitt. Might have just said a little bit too much. One of them catches Elgin in Fatima Ellis's room, and maybe that's what adds to Elgin being sus. Ooh, interesting, Sean. And that would actually be kind of fitting, because they do kind of set that up in episode 9 as well, where Elgin specifically says to Fatima, here, I brought you this dress. I had to grab it from storage because I didn't want to risk going into your room. So yeah, maybe they are uniquely maybe setting that up for, at one point, if Elgin does kind of enter Fatima's room, maybe that will shed some more suspicion on top of him. Absolutely. And yeah, maybe Ellis told his dad. I could definitely see that as well, because again, he came off incredibly sus. If I was Ellis, at the very least, it's something that you would want to investigate a little bit further. So yeah, maybe after that conversation he had with Elgin at the Brundles, maybe Ellis goes to Boyd afterwards and said, hey, you need to go take a closer look at Elgin. Something is not right with him. Especially the way that he was specifically talking about Fatima in terms of, what if she's okay? What if Fatima is out there right now doing something that's going to help all of us? What the fuck are you talking about, Elgin? You sound so crazy right now. You're either crazy or you're incredibly guilty. That is how you sound right now, talking nonsense like this. So yeah, I could definitely see, Elgin kind of just tipping his mitt a little bit too much, for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff. That wallpaper looks like the back rooms. Yeah, it's very interesting because we see the wallpaper. I think it's similar wallpaper to this because we see it here, we see it here, and we also see it here. Like wherever Ellis is standing, we see that wallpaper in the background right here, which is also the same wallpaper we see in the Sarah shot as well here. Kind of the same background wallpaper. So it looks like they are probably, I have a feeling they're probably talking to Elgin here in this moment, and they're probably trying to get Elgin to come clean. And I think that's what Sarah is saying to him, in particular, like, hey, this place doesn't give, it only takes. I promise you, you might think you're helping Fatima, you might think you're helping the town, but really all you're doing is putting her and the town in danger by not telling us where she is. So yeah, I definitely think that this is, that's what's going on here in that scene. They're probably trying to get through to Elgin to find out where she's holding her, where he's holding her. Awesome stuff. All right, let's see some of the other stuff we have in the trailer. Of course, we also have this interesting scene here of Jade playing the violin with Tabitha in front of the bottle tree. It's nice to see the violin back out again. Now, for those who don't know, I think I know, I imagine by now most people know, but for those who don't, the actor who plays Jade, David Alpay, is actually a world-class violin player. Like, he really knows how to play violin, and he knows how to play very well. So I wouldn't be too surprised in all of these scenes where we see Jade playing the violin, whether it's the season 2 scenes or these scenes here. I imagine that's probably really David playing the violin and not just a sound effect. I mean, yes, it's added in post, but I wouldn't be too surprised if David Alpay himself was the one adding that music in on post, and it was really actually him playing the violin, because he's apparently a very, really good violin player. But this is going to be an interesting one. I mean, what exactly is going on here? I have no idea. But with the way that he's playing the violin, is he potentially doing this to hopefully unlock some more memories or to unlock some other kind of vision within Tabitha? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing this scene in particular. And then, of course, we have the return of Father Cautry himself. And I just, every time we see Sean Majumder on screen, I always have just a little bit of a smile on my face, because he'll always be one of my favorite characters on the show. Not so much the character itself, but just the incredible acting performance that Sean Majumder put on. So it's nice to see that Father Cautry is still popping up to Boyd every once in a while. And in this scene, we hear Father Cautry saying to Boyd that, it's time for you to decide who you really are. So I get the feeling Boyd is going to be faced with some kind of tough decision in this final episode. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it seems like Boyd is, and that's usually when Father Cautry appears. Whenever we see this Cautry spirit, entity, whatever he is, whenever we see him kind of manifest, it's usually always during a time where Boyd is conflicted about something, where he's faced with two options and two roads to go down, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing good old Father Cautry again. Bring on the Father Cautry scenes. It's always fun to see Father Cautry again. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. He's serenading Tabby. It's a love story. Baby, just say yes. And that was another thing that popped up super early on, was, not early on, but a few episodes back, a lot of people started to kind of notice this weird little, potential little spark between Jade and Tabitha. And that was, again, even I kind of saw it a little bit. You get that one scene where Tabitha is looking back at Jade, and she gives him the silent thank you, and Jade kind of acknowledges it back. And that one scene alone has created, that whole other little context here, where it seems like a lot of people want to see Jade and Tabitha eventually end up together. And who knows? I mean, I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see, but it did seem like there was something there. Like, it did seem like there was the potential for something there, just in that little scene between those two there. But who knows? Who knows? We got some good stuff to look forward to, guys. I am looking forward to this final season. And yeah, they're looking at Elgin, I bet. I think they are as well. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Sarah scenes and the Ellis scene and Boyd, Donna, and Sarah coming up the stairs, I think they're most likely looking at Elgin, probably. I would agree there. Sarah is a medium, and she definitely seems to display a lot of abilities that we've seen in other mediums in the past. So Sarah definitely seems to have a very unique connection to this place that nobody else has. And I know we talk all the time of history repeating itself and these different kind of character archetypes repeating over and over and over again, whether it's Tabitha and Miranda, Jade and Christopher, Ethan and Victor. We see a lot of repeating themes over and over again. But when you look at Sarah and we look at her unique abilities to hear these voices, she's in a category in and of itself where there is no previous version of Sarah. You look at the 1974 timeline, and there was a clear version of Jade before Jade, where Christopher was seeing all of the symbols and everything that Jade's seeing now. But we're not seeing any kind of clear indication that there was a Sarah archetype in the 1974 time period. And I think we even get more evidence from that from the actual show when the voices themselves say that they've been waiting a very long time for someone to arrive here that could actually hear them. So it seems like Sarah is incredibly unique in terms of the connection she has to this place is a connection that nobody else has ever had to this place, has ever had with this place potentially. So I think she's going to be vital. I know we often talk a lot about Tabitha and Jade being important to the overall narrative and to getting those definitive answers, but I think Sarah is going to be just as important as Tabitha and Jade in the long run in terms of her very unique connection to this place, which was, again, even further kind of reinforced, where even Boyd says in episode 9, Sarah has a unique connection with this place. So, yeah, I think Sarah is going to be just as vital as Tabitha and Jade will be, for sure. I think she will be a vital role in solving some of these weird mysteries that are going on. A lot of stuff we have to look forward to, guys. Yeah, it's those silent glances. It is, right, PM? It's I don't know, it's just one of those things where sometimes, I mean, as an audience member, I guess maybe we can kind of just see the chemistry every once in a while. Every once in a while you can kind of just see those sparks fly. And yeah, it's those little silent glances when when you lock eyes with somebody else and you can kind of tell instantly that that person is kind of feeling something similar to you're feeling, where you have that little kind of shared infatuation. It does kind of almost seem like that at times when you have those kind of, like you said, those silent glances there between Jade and Tabitha. Maybe two characters seeing each other doesn't have to mean romance, but Jade would be a better daddy and husband. That's true. I think Jade, I mean, you think of Jade as a father, and you start to wonder what kind of father Jade would be, because he's not really a people person. I mean, like, we see how bad he is with Victor, and he's really not. I mean, he was good with Ethan in a few scenes, but Jade is also kind of a child in his own right in some areas. But I wouldn't be too surprised if fatherhood would be like the thing that maybe grows Jade up, that makes Jade mature a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. Would Jade potentially be a better father figure than Jim? I mean, it's a low bar to beat, but maybe, maybe. Katri's a secret freak. Maybe. Do you think Katri is naughty or nice? Man, again, I've kind of gone back. This is another one I've gone back and forth on as well, where at times when I see some scenes and some of the dialogue that these Father Cautry and the dead bartender Tom, sometimes I almost feel like it's just the manifestation of Boyd's subconscious, where Boyd's subconscious is just manifesting Cautry, and he's visualizing Cautry, giving him the same kind of advice Cautry would have given him when he was still alive. So at times I start to think that it's just Boyd's subconscious, but then there's some other times where I start to think maybe Cautry is a little bit more nefarious. Maybe he is an entity, or maybe he is Fromville trying to mess with Boyd's head. Because every once in a while he just says some really sus things, like early on in season 3. When we see Cautry appear to Boyd, one of the first things he asks Boyd is, how are Julie, Randall, and Mari doing? And that was very weird. I mean, maybe it was just him showing concern. Maybe maybe Khatri is just Boyd's subconscious, and maybe Boyd just had Julie, Sarah, and Mari on his mind in that moment. But when you see Khatri asking about how Julie, Randall, and Mari are, you start to wonder, does this Khatri being have a deeper vested interest in what's happening to Julie, Randall, and Mari? Is this connected to a little bit more of the entity stuff we've seen in season 2? So I kind of go back and forth on it. I'd love to get everybody's take in the chat as well. What do you guys think about these dead characters that are returning? Whether it's Father Khatri or whether it's the return of the dead bartender Tom. What do you guys think when you see these characters? Do you think it's potentially just their subconscious, or do you think that this might be some more along the lines of some kind of entity work happening? Like maybe these are more malevolent entities that are potentially trying to push our characters down, arduous paths. It's tough because, again, a lot of the advice that we see the Father Khatri character give to Boyd is the exact same advice that Father Khatri gave to him when he was alive, which is always why Boyd was saying, you're the worst priest in the world. Because, Father Khatri was always giving him some pretty bad advice at times. Like, it was, after all, it was Father Khatri who was trying to convince Boyd to throw Frank into the box in season 1. Father Khatri actively wanted Frank to get killed. And we even get that really interesting line from Father Khatri stating to Boyd, you can't build a guillotine in the town square and then be afraid to use it, kind of thing. So it's again, I kind of go back and forth on this as to, is it just Boyd's subconscious, or is this something a little bit more? But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Would love to know what you guys think. I can see Uncle. I can see Uncle Jade. Maybe we could see Uncle Jade for sure. For sure. Oh man, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I don't trust anything. It is. It's hard to trust anything, isn't it? It's hard to trust anything here, and that's why I think Sarah's line in the episode 10 trailer in particular, is very profound and very fitting in terms of nothing here gives, everything here only takes, which is very similar to what Christopher says to the boy in white. When we got that flashback in episode 8, when Victor finally remembered his memory and realized that it was actually Christopher speaking to the boy in white, not the doll Jasper, and we hear Christopher say almost that exact thing word for word, where he's telling the boy in white that you're lying. Everything lies here, Christopher says. So we're getting a lot of those instances from, whether it's from Sarah or from Christopher, both of them being very convinced that nothing that is here to help you. Everything that is here does mean you harm in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's kind of hard to trust anything, isn't it, Duck? It's hard to trust anything at this point after everything we've seen, for sure. Mix good, bad, neutral entities just like us, and that could potentially be the case as well. Like when I look at the Tom bartender entity, that one almost seems a little more good-natured. Like all of the advice that the bartender Tom has been giving to Jade has been pretty good advice up until this point, where whether it's the advice he gives him at the end of season 2, where Tom shows up and finally gives Jade the courage that he needs to go down into the caves. And the only reason why Jade wanted to go down into those caves in the first place was, yes, he wanted to see the symbol, but he also wanted to go down there to see if there was a potential way that he could help out Julie, Randall, and Mari. Because we even see Tom, the bartender, say that, there's a 16-year-old girl over there lying helpless that needs your help. Do it for her, kind of thing. So the bartender Tom, his advice has been definitely a little bit more straightforward than some of the stuff that Father Khatri has said to Boyd. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of a mix where we get good, bad, and neutral entities. Because it can't just be that every single thing here is evil and means harm. There has to be some kind of balance, right? And I think we see a little example of that at the end of season 1 as well, where we see Sarah. Sarah and Boyd are heading off into the woods, and Sarah receives a message this time. And this time she notices that it's a little bit different. She says this time it was a different voice. This time it was a female. And us as the audience, we kind of were able to suss out that this entity that was reaching out to Sarah in that moment was most likely really Boyd's wife, Abby, because we hear Sarah learn about the fish and loaves story. We see also this entity say to Sarah, that conveys to Sarah, to convey to Boyd anyway, tell him that I was wrong, that there's worse things out here than the monsters. So it did seem like that one particular entity was trying to help out Boyd and Sarah in that moment. So I do get the feeling that, yeah, you might be a little more along the lines where there is a mix, where some entities here are just malevolent and they just mean harm and chaos and destruction. And maybe there are some other kind of spirits like here that are potentially maybe previous past versions of people that lived in Fromville that died here and are maybe stuck in some manner, like Abby. We know Abby died here in Fromville, and one of the first things she says to Sarah to convey to Boyd is, tell him I was wrong, which to me indicates that Abby found out that her theory was wrong. And remember, at the end of season 1, it's revealed that Abby came under the assumption that this was all one giant dream, that if she were to successfully wake everybody up, everybody would end up waking up and going home. But when I hear this voice, or this potentially disembodied voice of Boyd's wife Abby, say to Sarah, tell Boyd I was wrong, that is indicating to me that that is the real Abby. And she knows that her theory was wrong because she died here and she's still stuck here. So yeah, I think we see a clear indication that we get a little bit of a mix of some good entities, some bad entities, and maybe some neutral ones. And like you said, just like humans. And that's very akin to the basic human race at that point. You got good humans, you got bad humans, and you got kind of gray humans that are kind of mixed. So yeah, I think it's a mix of both for sure. The dead people are a trick. Remember fake Abby? Yeah, fake Abby was incredibly sus. Like the Abby that we see in season 2 that appeared to Boyd in the RV down in the Martin cave, that was definitely a little bit more malevolent. But every time we see Abby actually appear in physical form, not physical form, but in that entity form, that was most likely the cicada entity trying to manipulate Boyd every time she showed up. So yes, the Abby entity that we actually saw was incredibly sus and incredibly malevolent. But the Abby voice that Sarah hears, that seemed like it was the actual real Abby. So I think that is the case. I think there's a mix of both, of good, bad, and kind of neutral, for lack of better terms. But yeah, I think it's a mix. I think it is a mix. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, but but don't trust the ghosts. And again, I mean, you don't want to trust them, but it's hard to know if they're even ghosts. Again, I guess that's the big question: is are these really ghosts? Are these really entities? Or again, is it just versions of their subconscious? Because the first time we see Kotri in season 2, he does present himself, and he straight up calls himself, I'm a figment of your imagination. He says to Boyd, he says, you're the one down here talking to a figment of your imagination. So again, they leave it very ambiguous, if nothing else. I'm glad that they don't, and again, it's not just a definitive answer that they give us as to what these things are. They give us these ambiguous clues that kind of point to different things at times, I guess you could say, for sure. For sure. And yeah, and that's a good point as well. Kotri did not seem to know what Boyd was building. So if it was his subconscious, you would stand to think that he would maybe already know what he was building. That could potentially be a sign. So yeah, that's a good point as well, Will. Because Boyd was building that little memorial wall, because we know that we have the graveyard here, but none of the graveyards are actually marked with names. So that's a good point. That's a very good point. Kotri is real. Remember, Boyd thought he was imagining him at first. Then Kotri showed Boyd something only Kotri would know. It was buried or something. Well, that was when the voices were trying to. That was when Sarah was trying to convince Kotri that the voices were real. Where the voices tell Sarah exactly what Father Kotri buried down in that hole, whether the bag with the candy bar and the blood and the bottle of alcohol and all that. That was but that was just to indicate to Kotri that Sarah wasn't crazy, because at that point, that was very early on in season 1, right after Father Kotri had kind of captured Sarah, and he has her down in the basement, and Sarah is telling Kotri that she's hearing all of these voices, but Kotri needed proof of that. I mean, he couldn't just take Sarah at her word. So that was how those spirits, the voices, that was how they managed to prove to Kotri that they were real. They by telling Sarah something that only Father Kotri would know. But in terms of that being Father Kotri real in his dead form, that's still a little more ambiguous, I would say. I think the appearances are truly just their subconscious. I have learned that the writers and directors like to manipulate the audience by making things seem sinister when they really aren't. And that is a very good point as well, Thickly. And just by the very mystery box nature of the show, you know, and I do it myself all the time, where sometimes I kind of look way deeper into something that maybe isn't really meant to even be looked deeper into. And that's just naturally going to happen when you have a show like this that is so predicated on mystery. Us as the audience, we're going to at least want to entertain the thought that every little thing we see might have some deeper meaning, and a lot of it will sometimes, but sometimes it just won't. So that's a good point. You kind of have to pick and choose and kind of decide for yourself, I guess, which things you think do mean something more, where there are deeper meanings, and what things are just kind of smoke and mirrors, as you mentioned, and just the writers kind of throwing a little bit of red herrings in there for us every once in a while. Cartu went away, got a makeover, and he's back hotter than ever. Yeah, he definitely looks a lot different than he did as Kotri in season 1 and 2. And I imagine he's probably got some other roles and stuff, so it looks like his hair's a little bit shorter. So yeah, Father Kotri's looking a little different in season 3. And we got Dana Marie, who has been a member for 17 months. Thank you so much, Dana. And I was mentioning earlier, we are kicking off the giveaway. We are going to, I know Dana and Scarlett are going to be doing theirs as well. And we are going to be kicking our giveaway off here on the channel on Sunday. This Sunday night for the finale, for the final watch party of season 3, episode 10, we are going to be giving away those custom 3D printed talismans that were provided to us by the awesome Nick L., who 3D printed them all and hand painted them himself. So this week is the week. This Sunday, we are going to be doing our giveaway. So anybody who wants a chance to come and win a free 3D printed talisman, all you got to do is be in the chat for the live watch party, and we'll probably do it like we do our regular Sundays. We'll start with a little bit of a pregame show at 8, and then at 9 o'clock, an hour later, we'll do the actual watch party. And then when the watch party is over, we will do the giveaway right after we're done watching. So that is what we are going to do this Sunday. We are going to dive in and finally get this giveaway done. I know it's been very long delayed, and that was 100% on my part. Nobody else's, and I'm sorry for the delay. But yeah, we are definitely getting back to it, and we are going to be doing the giveaways this Sunday. And of course, Scarlett and Dana are doing an awesome giveaway as well. So it's going to be like a two-parter kind of thing, like we were planning earlier. But thank you so much, Dana, for the membership chat. I feel like only yesterday I found your channel, and now here we are. Oops, sorry, something popped up. I feel like it was only yesterday that I found your channel, and now here we are. You have grown so much, and I am so proud of you. Season 4, here we come. Yes, here we come indeed. And thank you. That really does mean a lot. You guys have been here since day 1, and I got to say, I'm proud of you guys as well. I mean, you guys started off building up your own channel last year. You started off with the whole evil thing and really started to do your own thing. You guys put in the time, you put in the work, you put in the effort, and now you guys have really kind of come into your own, where you got a really good show over there that you and Scarlett do every week. I love the whole aspect where you're pulling so many other aspects of the From fandom and kind of bringing them onto your channel. This kind of creator spotlight streams that you guys have been doing. It's always very unique when you have a show that is your own, a show that kind of nobody else is doing kind of thing. You always want to have your show be a little bit unique to other shows that are out there. So no, I'm super proud of you guys as well. You guys have been grinding for a while, and you got a really fun show over there as a result. And again, just such an awesome fandom here that has been so supportive of everything that we have been doing. So thank you for that. I very much appreciate the kind words, Dana. And but again, very proud of you guys as well, and super proud of this fandom, like the fandom as a whole. I could not be more grateful for everybody that I've met on this From journey, and I've met some really freaking cool people. And even if I haven't, really had the time to really meet you one on one yet, even everybody that just hangs out here in the chat, everybody that just takes time out of their busy day to come and hang out with us for a little bit and dive into the freaking craziness over here. I very much appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Did they announce season 4? Yes, they did. They have officially announced season 4 is a go. And I guess I'll play the promo thing again, just in case there are anybody here that wasn't here at the beginning of the stream. Yes, we have official confirmation. Season 4 of From has been ordered, and they are going to start filming in early 2025. And season 4 itself, unfortunately, probably won't air until 2026. So it sucks. We're going to have a little bit of a wait in between seasons 3 and 4. But season 4 has officially been greenlit, and they are starting filming at the beginning of 2025. But yeah, we got this awesome news today, actually. In fact, just a few hours ago, we got the official confirmation that season 4 was a go. And to celebrate the festivities, or to break the news, we had this awesome little video from Harold Perrineau himself.
Is this a bottle tree? Okay, look, it is it's getting dark. This is crazy. I'm seriously, I don't understand what's going on here. This is crazy. Am I supposed to read this or something? What? What? Are you kidding me? Are we picked up? We are picked up. Fromily, here we go, season 4. But it's getting dark, so if I'm gonna make it this season, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going home. Season 4, I'll see you guys. I'll see you.
There we have it, guys. Season 4 is officially a go. And it's awesome. I think a lot of us knew that we were going to be getting the season 4. I guess it was just a matter of time as to when they choose to announce it. But yeah, there we go. We got the official confirmation. Season 4 is definitely a go. But unfortunately, it looks like we are going to be actually seeing it premiere on our screens probably not until early 2026. And if it does wait until 2026, it will probably be very early in 2026, I would imagine. It usually doesn't take too long to film a season of From, so I'm actually kind of surprised that they're already announcing 2026 release date. But maybe they're just playing it safe. I mean, I don't know. But either way, it is coming. We have season 4 officially confirmed, and it seems like MGM is incredibly excited about the future of this show, and the show itself is on very solid footing. We read the article at the beginning of the stream, so if anybody came in towards the end of the stream and you want to check out the article a little bit deeper, you can. I read it at the beginning of the stream. It's super quick. It's not a very long article, but you can really tell that MGM, the head of MGM, is very confident in From, and that's to be expected. This show has been bringing in tons of viewers, and not only tons of viewers, it's been bringing in tons of subscribers for the MGM streaming service, and that is what streaming services look for the most. If there is a specific show that is actively bringing in tons of new subscribers, that is something that the streaming services absolutely love, way more than just numbers. It's one thing for a show to do good in terms of getting a lot of viewers. That will definitely help ensure that a show is going to have longevity. But if one specific show is bringing in tons of subscribers, paid subscribers to the streaming service, that for streaming services is probably worth more than actual views, because that's their bread and butter. Ultimately, these streaming services want you to pay for the service, and MGM Plus is so worth it, in my opinion, in terms of the price that you get and everything that you get for that price. because MGM also has some other shows that are really good. It's not like From is their only good show. Far from it. They have tons of really good shows on MGM, like Godfather of Harlem is a really good one. Billy the Kid's another good one. There's a lot of really good shows out there on From. Britannia was phenomenal when that was on MGM. So it's a good streaming service, and I would say it's definitely worth it. But that is what these streaming services look for, though, in terms of longevity for a show, in terms of what is going to guarantee that a show is going to get as many seasons as it needs. Yes, obviously you need the viewers, but for a streaming service in particular, if From is bringing in a ton of subscribers, that is just more job security for everybody working on From. So I get the feeling now that we're 3 seasons in and the fan base is very much established and it's only growing, yeah, I don't think we ever have to worry about From getting canceled. They will get as many seasons as they need. If they want to wrap it up in 5, if they want to wrap it up in 6, however many that they want to wrap it up in, they'll get as many seasons as they need. The show is on very solid footing at this point. So that is definitely good news. Definitely good news. I'm getting a From tattoo, getting From tatted. That is awesome. Well, if you do that, I don't know if you're in our Discord, but if anybody ever does, whether it's from fan art, we have a lot of awesome artists that have sent in some fan art every once in a while. And every time that happens, I always like to show it on stream. So if anybody ever has any From fan art, or if you do something freaking badass, like get a From tattoo, definitely take a picture of it, drop it in the Discord, and I will always bring it up on stream and show it to everybody else because I love seeing shit like that. I don't think I've seen a whole lot of From tattoos. I think I've seen like 1 or 2 from some very dedicated fans, but I haven't seen a whole lot of From tattoos up until this point. Like when Game of Thrones was on, I was getting pictures sent to me every week of people getting new Game of Thrones tattoos that we would show on the show. But yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of From tattoos. So yeah, if anybody is out there, if you do have any From fan art, anything along those lines, always take a picture of it, drop it into the Discord and tag me, and I will always show it on stream because I love showcasing the awesome talents that some of you guys have in the chat. Whether it's artistry, anything that you guys are into, I always love showcasing the awesome talent that of everybody here in the chat. So yeah, if you end up doing that, definitely drop a picture of it, and we'll show everybody. We will show everybody the From tat. Absolutely. Absolutely. There was an early show in the early 2000s called Persons Unknown. Yes, I remember Persons Unknown, actually. I don't remember if I watched it in its entirety, but I remember when that show was first on. I do believe I watched it at the beginning. I don't know if I watched all of it, though. But yeah, similar to From vibes. Similar to From vibes, indeed. And Yellow Jackets. Yes, Yellow Jackets is coming back. That is a show that we are going to be gearing up and covering very heavily here on the show. Because after From ends, probably the next best show that I'm looking forward to that will be coming on after From ends is Yellow Jackets. And we are getting Yellow Jackets in February. We just got awesome confirmation of that as well. Yellow Jackets is a go, and it will be airing in February. I don't know what the status is of the bonus episode. There was supposed to be some kind of bonus episode that we were supposed to get in between seasons 2 and 3 that they haven't released, and we haven't gotten a whole lot of information on it yet. The cabin episode, as it was described. So hopefully we get the awesome bonus episode even before season 3 comes around. That would be pretty nice. But if not, we do know season 3 of Yellow Jackets is coming in February, which again isn't too far away either. So we will definitely be covering all things Yellow Jackets here on the show as well. And yeah, where's Cabin Daddy, right? Where the frick is Cabin Daddy? As Susie Greenberg says, where is the Cabin Daddy episode? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. Awesome stuff. But yeah, we'll be diving heavily into Yellow Jackets. 5 isn't enough. Honestly, I'm with you, Black Diamond. I think, I mean, the way From has been set up and the way that John Griffin describes season 3 as just being the end of the beginning, that would stand to reason that they would probably at least need to do 6 seasons or so. So yeah, I mean, if they can end it in 5 satisfactory, Like, if 5 is all they need to properly tell the story, I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, I would love for them to maybe do, along the lines of like a 6 or a 7 season arc. Just seeing everything that they've set up, I think it's going to be very hard to wrap all of this up in only 2 more seasons, especially when these 2 seasons only have 10 episodes apiece. 10 episodes is not that lot of screen time. That does kind of fly by very fast. As we've seen this season, just flew by super quick, it felt like. But no, I tend to agree with you. I'm not sure if 5 will even be enough. I mean, I guess it depends on how rapidly the story starts progressing from season 4 on. Like, if the plot starts moving forward at a much quicker rate, then maybe they can wrap it up all in 5. But just based on the tone and the pace that they've set up for these first 3 seasons, yeah, I kind of agree. I would think that they would probably need at least 6 to really properly tell this story. But I guess we'll see. 5 seems to be the place that they're aiming for, that some of the actors have said, but that's in flux. That is by no way a guarantee. It could easily be 6 if they need it, I'm sure. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, War of the Worlds as well, as Lisa Safay says. Yeah, War of the Worlds was actually a pretty decent show as well on MGM. MGM has they got some hidden gems there. They definitely got some hidden gems. Is from a Lost spinoff, says Tattooed CJ. Oof. Now, this is a discussion that we've had multiple times, and actually, our very own Dana is very much in the camp where she believes that this show could potentially be set in the same universe or same world as Lost. And I think it's an interesting idea. I feel like there are some interesting signs that you could probably easily enough connect these 2 shows. Lost set something up very interesting in during their run, where they talk about different energies in different parts of the world. Like the island, the reason the island is so special on Lost is because it happens to sit on a convergence of energy. And these energies, convergence places, they tend to be where very weird and unexplained things tend to happen. And the way it's described on Lost is that there are multiple of these energy-like places all around the world. One of our characters actually goes to visit one in Australia in hopes of getting her cancer cured, and then ends up crashing on the island after she leaves that energy spot, only to have her cancer cured when she lands on the island. So they have clearly established that kind of format where if they wanted to connect from to Lost, it wouldn't be too hard to do. Now, I tend to think they are 2 separate worlds personally. I would love it if they were one same world. I mean, again, I'm a huge Lost fan, and I loved Lost from start to finish, and I loved the ending too. So if they did want to connect the 2, I would be all for it. And again, it wouldn't be too hard to connect these 2, considering how the shows are set up and all of the just incredible similarities between these 2 shows. But no, up until this point, there's been no confirmation in terms of this being set in the Lost universe. It seems to be its own continuity. But there's a lot of awesome fan theories out there that are pointing to this potentially being connected to Lost. And I like the theories. I think they're cool. I think they're interesting. But I guess we'll see. Yellow Jackets is so much like From, the same vibe, woods, trees, cannibalism. Well, we didn't get that really in From. No, well, not yet. Well, I guess we got a little bit of the cannibalism aspect in From with Fatima. I mean, I know it's not like full-on cannibalism in the sense where she's chomping on human flesh, but drinking human blood, I guess you could definitely categorize that as cannibalism, I would say. And not just Fatima, but the vision that Jade has as well. Jade has that vision in episode 3 where he sees the dude with the railroad spike through his eye drinking human blood out of a skull. So while it's not like full-on cannibalism in terms of flesh eating like we see on Yellow Jackets, I suppose you could say that From does become cannibalistic adjacent at the very least in terms of the human blood drinking. But yeah, so similar, these 2 shows. And that's why I always urge anybody who's a From fan, I'm telling you, definitely check out Yellow Jackets. If you like From, there's a very high chance that you're going to like Yellow Jackets too. Because as Wild Marjoram says here, there's just so many similarities between those 2 shows. They really are very similar in so many ways. And you have people hitting their heads. It's just, They're just two shows that go really good together. Again, I would be very surprised at the percentage of people who watch From that wouldn't be interested in Yellow Jackets. I imagine if you're a really big From fan, I wouldn't be too surprised if at least 75% of From fans, maybe even more, would probably like Yellow Jackets too, just considering how similar they are. But yeah, awesome stuff. Chapelwaite and War of the Worlds were great. Chapelwaite was phenomenal. I was actually very disappointed when I heard that Chapelwaite got canceled. We got a great first season of Chapelwaite with Adrian Brody, and Adrian Brody is such a powerhouse when it comes to acting. He's very much like Harold Perrineau in that sense, where he's one of those just incredibly reliable veteran actors who's been around and doing it for so long. And you know, when you cast somebody like Adrian Brody in a role, you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get a top shelf performance every single time he steps foot onto a scene. Very much like Harold Perrineau, the same way. When you hire Harold Perrineau, you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get an incredibly dedicated performance from actors like this when you hire them. So yeah, I was very disappointed when Chapelwaite got canceled because I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I know I guess it wasn't crazily advertised, but Chapelwaite is actually a prequel to Salem's Law. So anybody out there, if you're a fan of Salem's Law, definitely check out Chapelwaite on MGM Plus. And if you like From, you'll probably like Chapelwaite in and of itself. Even if you're not a Salem's Lot fan, you'll probably still like Chapelwaite if you're a From fan. There's a lot of similarities between those shows as well, especially with their horror elements. But yeah, I was very disappointed when Chapelwaite got canceled because I was really looking forward to seeing where that show was going to go. And it just added an extra layer of intrigue knowing that Chapelwaite was a prequel to Salem's Lot. And of course, Salem's Law is one of the craziest vampire stories I've ever read, like hands down. Just absolutely insane. So yeah, good stuff. There's some really good other stuff there on From. Has anyone heard any discussion about why it's even called From? I mean, we've discussed it at nauseum many different times, but in terms of getting any like definitive answers as to why it's called From, no, we haven't really gotten really far with that because the show just hasn't really given us much. We did find out one interesting tidbit very early on when season 1 first aired. We found out that in other foreign markets, this show isn't called From everywhere. In other parts of the world, the show is actually called Origins. And we found that to be pretty interesting. Is that could that even give us some kind of hint as to what From is referring to? What does the title From mean? There's been a lot of different interpretations, a lot of really good fan theories in terms of what From means. But in terms of like anything definitive that we've actually gotten from the show, no, we have no idea. But I did find that interesting that in some of the foreign markets, this show is titled Origins instead of From. So maybe there's a deeper hint there. I don't know. I don't know. I wish it continued, says CeeLo. Yeah, and I do too. If you're referring to Chapelwaite, yeah, I'm right there with you. I very much wished that was able to continue. Very much wish that was able to continue. Let's see what else we got. Scroll down. Yeah. Persons Unknown, you mean? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, Persons Unknown. Again, I vaguely remember when that was coming on way back in the day, but I don't remember watching all of it. Like I remember that being one of those shows that I started watching but didn't finish. But yeah, it just sucks when shows don't get proper endings. And another show like that for me was right back then during that same time period, the 1999, 2000, 2001 area was when I was super into Carnival on HBO. Now, if you like mystery shows, if you like shows like From, I would also heavily recommend Carnival. The only reason why I don't like to recommend it as much as I would is because it doesn't have an ending, unfortunately. It got 2 phenomenal seasons, and then it got canceled. And it sucks, you hate to see these shows get canceled before they really have a chance to kind of fully flesh out. But Carnival, seasons 1 and 2 of Carnival are so freaking good. Like it's incredibly good. The mysterious kind of web that show weaves. So if you like the more mystery aspect style of shows, I would suggest check out Carnival. I mean, again, you don't get that definitive ending because it gets canceled, but the first 2 seasons are very enjoyable, and you get a sense of where that show was potentially heading. It was playing with some interesting themes. Dune Prophecy, great breakdown. Oh, thank you for that. I very much appreciate that, MJ. Yeah, I had fun doing that breakdown. I wasn't too sure what to expect going into Dune Prophecy, because I knew that it was set, 10,000 years before Paul Atreides. I knew that they were going to be touching on the Butlerian Jihad a little bit, or the Machine Wars, as they call them on the show. But I was very interested to see how book accurate is this going to be, and which book canon are they going to follow? Because of course you have some of the Brian Herbert Dune stuff, and then you have the original Frank Herbert Dune stuff. Now, originally I'm a Frank Herbert Dune fan myself, and my co-host Aldous, he'll be able to speak to this in much greater detail than I can because he knows Dune better than I do. I'm a big fan of it, but he's like an expert in it, kind of like I am in A Song of Ice and Fire. And we'll definitely be talking about some Dune this Saturday as well, probably towards the end of the stream. This Saturday, of course, we have our episode 10 pre-game show for the finale of season 3 of From, but we're also going to carve some time out in that stream to talk a little bit about Dune Prophecy as well, because again, he's a big Dune fan, and I'm looking forward to getting his take on the first episode. But no, I enjoyed the first episode. I wasn't sure what to expect heading into that. I didn't have like the craziest high bar set. I was hoping it was going to be good, but I guess I was preparing for it to maybe not be so good. But I was impressed. Again, it's only been one episode, so it's really hard to tell what kind of show it's going to be. I usually like to give shows at least 3 episodes before I can really formulate a informed opinion on it. Because I feel like a lot of people sometimes they'll see one episode of a show and they'll write the show off. And it's like, you got to give a show a little bit more than that to really see where it's going, to really see how a show is establishing themselves. Sometimes watching one episode just isn't enough. Sometimes you'll see the first episode of a season be incredibly shitty, and then episodes 2, 3, and 4 get better and better and better, and then next thing you know, the show's actually really good. So I feel like watching one episode just doesn't give you the proper context that you need to know how good a show is going to be. So I always try to give it at least 3 episodes. If I watch the first 3 episodes and I'm not into it at all after the 3rd episode, then maybe I'll kind of move on. But if I watch one episode and it's not really doing it for me, I'm always at least going to check out episodes 2 and 3 just to see where it might go. Because again, just seeing that first episode in and of itself doesn't always accurately indicate what the rest of the show is going to look like as a whole. So I always try to give it at least 3 episodes. That's just my personal kind of philosophy, I guess. I hope we get it on Christmas break. Yeah, me too. If you're referring to the Cabin Daddy episode of Yellow Jackets, the bonus episode, it would be nice if we got it right there around Christmas. Give us something awesome to kind of sink our teeth into, and then boom, we'll have season 3 right around the corner. I think it's like February 14th or 13th. I think it was maybe Valentine's Day, I think, is when season 3 of Yellow Jackets is airing, which is pretty interesting and fitting to know that it's kind of airing on Valentine's Day of all days, considering some of the themes that show weaves. But yeah, no, that would be a pretty good time if we could get that bonus episode right around Christmas time. That would be, and not only that, it would breathe some much needed new life into the Yellow Jackets fandom, because Yellow Jackets also suffered a very long and extended hiatus in between seasons 2 and 3, just like From did, in large part thanks to the writers and actors strike that was going on. But even a little bit deeper than that, where we also learned that there were some problems behind the scenes when it came to Yellow Jackets. There were some contract problems that some of the actors were having. But it seems like all of that has gotten sorted. It seems like season 3 has been filming for a while now, and we're finally going to get back into some Yellow Jackets action. But no, Christmas would be the perfect time to drop that bonus episode, because that will get the fandom so hyped. And then boom, you have the actual season 3 airing 5-6 weeks later. So that would actually be a perfect time for them to drop the bonus episode. Right around Christmas time would be really good. Is anyone looking for phenomenal vampire show to watch post from? Interview with a Vampire is high art. It isn't really scary, blood bickering, infighting, and stars Grey Worm actor from Game of Thrones, Jacob. Now, I tried to get into Interview with a Vampire because I actually really enjoy Interview with a Vampire, the book. The original novel by Anne Rice, and even the movie Interview with a Vampire with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. Like that's a fun vampire movie. I know not everybody likes it. It has more of a kind of a cult underground following, but I actually really enjoy Interview with a Vampire. Now I'm trying to get into the show Interview with the Vampire, but it changes so much from the books that it does start to look like it's a completely different story entirely. Now, one thing I will say about the Interview with the Vampire show, the actor that they had playing Lestat is phenomenal. Like that is the best iteration I have ever seen of Lestat. Better than Tom Cruise and better than Stuart Townsend as well. Because we also have there's also multiple versions of Lestat depending on which Anne Rice novel you're basing it off. We had Queen of the Damned come out way back in the day, with Stuart Townsend played Lestat. That was the one with Aaliyah, the singer Aaliyah, who tragically passed. Queen of the Damned is also an Anne Rice book, and that's also has Lestat in it, but it's a different Lestat kind of. But the actor that they have playing Lestat in this current Interview with the Vampire show, I mean, if the writing was just a little bit better, if they were just following the source material just a little bit better, that show has incredible potential. But just for me personally, being a big fan of the book, they just changed way too much stuff. You know, they've changed so much about these characters' backstories. Louis in particular. I mean, they made Louis a pimp. You know, he's a pimp on the show. Which is it's kind of an interesting backstory. But you know, when you look at Louis in the book, it's a completely different character. So while I'm trying, I tried to give Interview with a Vampire a chance. I watched season 1. I haven't seen season 2 yet, so I don't know if it improves or gets worse. So I can't really speak to the quality of the second season. So I'll probably try and check it out at some point. But that was kind of just my takeaway on it. I really enjoy the actor that's playing Lestat. I think he is the draw of the show. He is the standout performance of the show. That Lestat actor, he's just so good in that role. But they change so much from the source material for me that I have a hard time really enjoying it, I guess. But I'll try it out. I'll give it another shot. If they do 5 seasons, they need to make spin-off shows with individual characters. That could be interesting. I mean, if they are only ending it at 5 seasons, I guess it depends on where they end it narratively. Like, how much do they leave open-ended? Are they going to leave some things ambiguous? Are they going to answer every single little thing? I guess once we learn that, we'll have a better understanding as to whether or not we can get some maybe individual spin-off shows with individual characters, because that could be an interesting thing to explore. Like, I would always want to see a spin-off that was maybe set in a different time period, like showcase a completely different time period of Fromville, like the 1864 time period or something, like the Civil War soldier aspect. Have a From spin-off show set like in that time period. I think that could be really cool. But a continuation could also be really cool depending on how this show ends and depending on how they choose to, handle a spin-off. Depending on who lives, who dies, who survives the season, and in what state do they survive the season in. Is Fromville even still left standing by the time the show is over? A lot of questions still remain to be answered. But no, I could potentially see there being some interesting possibilities for a potential continuation. It doesn't necessarily have to be, if they do a spinoff, it doesn't necessarily have to be a prequel. It could definitely be a continuation as well, for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. But man, guys, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Dana, I am a believer. They are a shared universe for sure, but we will see. And again, I like the theory. You know me, Dana. I am a huge Lost fan, right up there with you. Like Lost and Twilight Zone are my 2 all-time favorite shows. The original Twilight Zone, not the reboot Twilight Zone that's on right now. The abomination that is on right now is not Twilight Zone as far as I'm concerned. But the original Rod Serling Twilight Zone and Lost, I always go back and forth in terms of those are like my 2 favorite shows of all time. I'm not sure which one I even like better at this point, but those are definitely my two favorite shows of all time. But no, I mean, there's a lot of interesting similarities there where if they were to connect From to Lost, I wouldn't be mad in the slightest. I would actually love that because I feel like it would fit in so many ways. But yeah, I guess we'll see at some point. I mean, if this show ends with, we find out that it's all been narrated third person, that this is all one giant story that Hurley is telling around the campfire in the island as the new Jacob, that would be a pretty funny kind of reveal if the whole show were to just end and boom, this whole thing was being told by freaking Hurley. It would be kind of funny. Psychological horror, creepy woods, entities, possible Wendigo, or Lovecraft vibes. Yes, and I love the Lovecraftian vibes that they are sprinkling into the show. And that's something we've been talking about since very early on. And I know we got this whole reveal in episode 2 when we saw the painting of that mysterious man in yellow, and which I instantly brought up the King in Yellow theory. Because that was what it reminded me of instantly. We were watching that during the watch party, right when the episode aired. And in the after discussion, the first thing that came to mind for me was the King in Yellow and all of the incredible similarities that the King in Yellow and Carcosa share with Fromville. And now we know that the Man in Yellow has been cast on the show apparently, and I've been really trying to avoid all of the leaks. And I've been pretty successful for the most part. The only leak I have heard is that apparently the Man in Yellow does appear at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this season or the beginning of next season, but I cannot wait to see him personally. And I can't wait to see what role he's going to play. Like, I've always wondered if this Man in Yellow figure is going to be like the opposite to the Boy in White. Is he going to be the antithesis to the Boy in White? Maybe we have the Boy in White on one side and the Man in Yellow on the other. But I'm looking forward to seeing the Man in Yellow potentially make an appearance on the show. I mean, whether it's going to be in the finale or whether they're going to save him for season 4, I don't know. But I love the Lovecraftian angle, and it just instantly reminded me of the King in Yellow, just with the yellow suit, that whole weird yellow painting, and then you look at the King in Yellow and everything that the King in Yellow represents. And that's a story I would recommend everybody read. If you're a Lovecraft fan or if you're a Robert Chambers fan, the King in Yellow is by Robert Chambers, but it's connected to the Lovecraftian universe. I would highly recommend checking out that book. It's a collection of short stories, and all of the short stories, I mean, they all have just incredible similarities to, from, and to everything we're seeing here, right down to the Carcosa of the King in Yellow, and how Carcosa and Fromville, the place that all of our characters are stuck on from, are incredibly similar to one another. Like, eerily similar. So similar that I wouldn't even be surprised if they drew some inspiration from the King in Yellow when crafting From. That's how similar these two stories are. But if you like From, and you like, as Wild Marge from here says, if you like some more of those kind of psychological horror aspects, creepy woods, entities, Lovecraftian kind of stuff, I would highly recommend checking out The King in Yellow. It's a phenomenal book, phenomenal story. And if nothing else, it might give you some extra insights as to where From might be heading. Because again, I would not be surprised if the King in Yellow served as some sort of small inspiration for Fromville. They're just so similar in terms of the themes that the two stories weave. But yeah, if you like From, definitely get out there and check out the King in Yellow. Please tell whoever you got to tell, if it's going to continue to be 10 episodes, the episodes need to be longer. I am right there with you, the Grooveverse, and I 100% agree. It does say in the article that season 4 will also be 10 episodes. So it seems like they're going to continue to follow that 10 episode format every season. But yes, it would be nice for some of these episodes to be like a full hour in length, maybe even a little bit longer. Because we look at a lot of the episode runtimes this season, they all tend to be right around that 45 to 50 minute time, range. But that's usually including the credits and the intro song. So once you minus the credits, once you minus the intro song, it ends up being like 2 or 3 minutes, shorter than that. So if an episode runtime says 45 minutes, usually you're probably only getting around 40, 41 minutes of actual show time. So yes, I would 100% agree with you. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't have any sway or any pull at MGM myself personally, so I can't really tell them anything myself. But yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. If they are going to continue to follow the 10 episode format, which I really wish that they were doing 13 episode seasons. I feel like that would give them just a little bit extra breathing room to kind of flesh out some more storylines, develop these characters a little bit more world development. Like there's so much more you could do if you had like 3 extra episodes per season. So I really wish that we were getting those 13 episode seasons that we used to get a few years ago. But if they are going to continue following the 10 episode format, then yes, hopefully in season 4 we get some longer episodes, because some of these episodes in season 3 were very short, like just incredibly short, over in the blink of an eye. But we'll see. We shall see. But awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Just wanted to do, I know this was meant to be a quick stream, and here we are approaching 2.5 hours. But we are going to be live Saturday, not tomorrow, but Saturday. We'll be live again, diving deep into all things from season 3, episode 10, with our pre-game show, the final pre-game show of the year. This Saturday, we'll be going live at 9 p.m. Eastern. Maybe I'll go live even a little bit earlier if I have the opportunity and I get set early. Maybe I'll go live a little bit earlier. But if not, at the very least, we will be going live Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we will be hanging out as we kill some time waiting for episode 10 to load up on MGM so we can finally see how season 3 is going to end. What revelations do they have in store for us? What twists and turns do they have in store for us? What new mysteries and questions are they going to set up for season 4 and beyond? I cannot wait to see how this season ends. Bring it on. Bring it on. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you for everything that you guys have done. You guys have been so incredibly supportive of everything that we've been doing here on the channel, and I can't thank each and every one of you enough. I'm so appreciative of this entire fandom, of each and every one of you, and I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the absolute coolest fandom I have ever been a part of. Just absolute coolest fandom, without a doubt. But yes, we are going to close it down. But get ready, guys, because the finale is just around the corner. We are just days away now from season 3, episode 10, Revelations, chapter 2, and we will finally see just how exactly this crazy season, this roller coaster of a ride of a season, is officially going to end. And I'm really hoping this final episode ends with a big bang, and I'm hoping it's going to. I have a lot of hope for the final season, for the final episode. But again, big thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown us, and a big thank you to everybody who super chatted tonight and sent in memberships. Kiwi Skirt, thank you. Official Rico, thank you. Gina, thank you. Dana, thank you, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, the support has been just overwhelming, and I can't thank all of you enough. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So get ready, guys. Season 3, episode 10 is just around the corner. And if you haven't checked out our episode 9 breakdown, that is up on the channel. And if you haven't checked out my episode 10 trailer breakdown, that is up on the channel today as well. I just uploaded that today. And for all of the Dune fans out there, definitely check out the Dune Prophecy episode 1 breakdown. That has recently been up on the channel too. Looking forward to seeing where Dune is going to go. And we'll definitely be doing some more Dune discussion. Once From is over and we have a little bit more time to breathe, we'll definitely be doing some more Dune discussion and Silo Season 2. I'm currently catching up on Silo right now. I fell a little bit behind on Silo, and we've been getting a lot of requests to do some Silo content, and we will definitely be doing that as well. So definitely come and hang out with us this Saturday. We will be diving into all things From for our episode 10 pregame show, and we will be talking a little bit about the first episode of Dune Prophecy as well. And there it is. Here we got the Dune expert himself, my co-host Aldous. And yeah, just like I am a expert in all things A Song of Ice and Fire, Aldous is just as knowledgeable on Dune. So I'm looking forward to getting Aldous' take on what he thought of the first episode of Dune Prophecy. So a big thank you to each and every one of you. You guys have just been, again, so supportive. And again, come and hang out this Saturday. We will be diving into all things from Season 3, Episode 10 with all of our final predictions and theories for the episode before it premieres. And, of course, we'll be touching a little bit on Dune Prophecy as well. And then, of course, yes, we will be doing some Silo discussions. Once Season 3 of From is over and I have a chance to fully catch up on Silo, we will definitely be talking about some Silo as well. Because I love that show. Like, Silo is such a good show. If you haven't checked out Silo yet, definitely check that one out as well. Silo is on Apple TV, and it is a really good show with a phenomenal cast. But that is going to do it for us tonight. Big thank you to each and every one of you for all of the support, as always. And as always, guys, stay safe out there in this crazy world that we are finding ourselves in. Be kind to one another. Don't be afraid to strap on that tinfoil hat, dive into that rabbit hole, have fun with it, and we will see you on the